might be, the analogies come from different places. Jason gives me unrelenting bleep for not having seen Caddyshack or whatever. Someone just drove into a ditch because they were listening to the radio and found out I haven't seen Caddyshack. I get it. I know. I'm sorry. Whatever. Nobody's perfect. But sometimes our analogies and our references are just going to be on different levels. I played a lot of Mario sports video games while Jason was, I don't know, presumably making friends or something. Whatever you do instead of playing Mario sports video games. I never got to that part because I had Mario Baseball on the GameCube, and what else do you need? Anyway, even when the pads come on, everybody looks like Toad from Mario. Whenever you start hitting in training camp, it's like, okay, here we go. Where's the hype train running? Chugga chugga. And right now, it's on Isaiah Pacheco. I want to talk about him more in the running back room more in a second. I think there are some lessons to be learned from this. I think there's just some blind fun you can have. You can just say, hey, bleep it all. It's early August. Let me be excited about a guy whose nickname is Lil Poppy. Easy, 100%. I am not here to rain on that parade at all whatsoever. There's some fun, interesting stuff going on throughout that, though. But then you find that hype. Well, then eventually, around this time, especially as the Chiefs have had a pretty quiet training camp, which I'm sure they're perfectly fine with, you start to see some of it begin to simmer down in terms of the excitement, what we're learning, if there's anything new. And then the preseason gets here. And now you've got one team in their game day uniforms against another team in their game day uniforms. And that right there, I think, more than anything else, Soldier Field. Two classic teams, classic uniform matchups. Who will be starting for those teams? Presumably Patrick Mahomes will be out there. Presumably you're going to get to see, is Justin Fields playing? It actually wouldn't surprise me if he's not, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, because the Chiefs at this point seem to be the anomaly in terms of who plays early in the preseason. Only 3 preseason games now, of course, since they added the 17th game ahead of last season. But Andy Reid seems to really value that time for his guys more than he fears it as an injury risk. So you'll probably see a lot of your favorite Chiefs out there wearing their game day threads against another team on Saturday at noon. That's going to feel good. It's going to feel like football. By the fourth quarter of that game, you're going to wish we could sim to September 11th when the Chiefs go to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Because the next couple preseason games after that, it's going to be, okay, I had the hype. This was better than what we were working with. We finally have the next level. But nothing's ever good enough once you can see the real thing. And we are within striking distance of that now. I am excited about the game on Saturday. But after that, I think we're going to start backpedaling our way and setting our sights on Chiefs-Cardinals very, very soon, because that's when the games start to matter. You don't have to wonder if Andy Reid's hiding some of the good stuff in the preseason, just running the vanilla stuff. And even there, though, I do think there are things to keep an eye out for. But we're going through the football life cycle. And right now, we are in that period of time where I, for myself, am like unrealistically, unnecessarily excited for preseason game 1. It's just been a long time since we've watched Patrick Mahomes throw a pass in a red jersey. Or a white jersey, for that matter. In a non-yellow jersey. It's been a long time since I've watched a member of the Chiefs get fully tackled on purpose. Not Joshua Williams almost beheading Juju Smith-Schuster very clearly by accident. I don't know if you didn't see that clip over the weekend. Juju was going across the middle, great connection. Joshua Williams just about beheaded him. Everybody's okay. It's an accident. Stuff happens in practice. Rookie's got to figure out, hey, man, let him get by you. It's training camp. He's your teammate. Don't clothesline him, even by accident. Nothing came from that, but that's the difference. That's the hardest hit you might see at training camp. And on Saturday, Nick Bolton's going to hit somebody. Leo Chanel is going to hit somebody. If you've been wanting to see what he looks like in real action, And we all have since the second they drafted him, and we all realized he was the guy out there sharpieing death row on his forearms. Since that moment, I've wanted to see Leo Chanel try to decapitate somebody. Not his teammate, someone on the other team. And by decapitate, I mean a nice, clean, by-the-book, legal hit with some ferocity.
Because we know the NFL is looking at trying to call more illegal contact this year.
Yeah, let's just keep your head where it's supposed to be and don't hit their head and just, legislated violence. Maybe that's what we start. Hold on. Did I just stumble into something? Can we start calling the linebackers legislative violence, and then they just wear, Supreme Court justice robes or something? Like big powdered wigs? You can go farther back. I know Supreme Court right now is sort of we're all kind of paying attention. So you can go back to old politics if you want, They can all dress up like George Washington or whatever. I don't really care.
That'd be okay.
Legislated violence. Legal violence. I don't know. But I'm excited to see Leo Chanel hit somebody. I'm excited to see what George Karlaftis looks like at the professional level against opponents who have a reason to stop him. I think he's going to get plenty of work because he depth chart wise should be out there with the ones, but experience-wise should be out there in the third quarter also. And so those are the types of guys that I think you can begin several days out, a full week out, basically. Those are the types of guys that I think you should be circling and saying, hey, well, let's see what we're gonna learn about these guys in competition that is at least somewhat real. You gotta mention Joshua Williams. He's been running with the ones. Rashad Fenton still not practicing with his shoulder surgery that he had this offseason. So Joshua Williams, you certainly don't expect a defensive back to get hurt in a preseason game, regardless of how long he's out there. Joshua Williams is from Fayetteville State. Every pro rep he can get against players trying to make a team is going to be good for him. I think the same could largely be said for Karlaftis. You want to keep him fresh and healthy, obviously. I think you could probably say the same thing about Trent McDuffie. If the Chiefs aren't worried about injuries, specifically to their defensive back, specifically to their corners, wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit to see McDuffie and Williams out there a ton. L'Jarius Sneed doesn't need quite as much work. He's got NFL playing time under his belt in a meaningful way. If you're Jalen Watson or Najee Johnson, I want to see you guys playing in the third and fourth quarter, and we can start to get a feel for what these guys are really going to be. The two players, though, that I might be actually most excited for, and I'm largely still here in this rookie class, but I come by it honestly. Karlaftis, interesting. All of the later picks, interesting. Will Darian Kennard look like a professional tackle going up against presumably 2s and 3s? But I want to see how Sky Moore gets used and how long he's out there. Because I think both of those things, regardless of what it looks like, those things I think are going to going to give us a pretty good indicator in determining what the Chiefs think of him as of this moment. The other guy is Lil Poppy, Isaiah Pacheco. And I don't think there are any two players on this roster who I have had my opinion change on more over the course of training camp than Moore and Pacheco. For Moore, it was never about what he could do. I said from doing I'm sure I said it within the first 10 minutes after he was drafted, doing our NFL draft show here on 810. I'm sure I said at some point, pump the brakes a little bit. Dude is coming out of Western Michigan, and it's really, really hard to be a major part of an Andy Reid offense as a rookie wide receiver. Literally almost nothing to do with Sky Moore, almost everything to do with reasonable expectations on a young guy. Respect for Andy Reid's offense, the complexities within, etc. That was my only hesitation on Sky Moore. It's just for this year purely. I've said, and it's still probably true, I don't think I'm going to end up with Sky Moore on any of my one-year fantasy football teams. By the end of the season, I could absolutely see him having a major role in this offense. But by that point, in the fantasy world, you've probably already missed out on your window. You probably cut him to pick up the Cowboys' new number 2 receiver after somebody gets hurt. That's just how fantasy works. He has been a large enough part of the process to this point. The reports out of camp are that he is comfortable and his usage is high enough that I am starting to wonder if he's ahead of schedule. And I don't know if that's his schedule or the Chiefs' schedule or just my assumed schedule. But I think he might be a little ahead of the schedule that I was imposing on him, just from what we know about Andy Reid offenses and receivers coming out of small schools. Pacheco might be the most interesting one, though. Like Kevin Clark of The Ringer tweeted about it today. And it has been everyone at every level. But Kevin Clark tweeted this morning, not a big this team loves their own player reporter guy, but I had 2 Chiefs people unprompted bring up how impressive Isaiah Pacheco is. I thought Ronald Jones was going to take a big bite out of the carries for this team when they signed him. When they added Jerick McKinnon, I started to wonder a little bit what that group was going to look like. We had conversations on AES with Seth Kaiser when they signed Ronald Jones about how he and Clyde Edwards-Helaire have some sort of potentially redundant skill sets, but redundancy at the running back position is not a bad thing. Guys get hurt. It's a war of attrition. We know all this. But I thought Pacheco was going to be like the guy that they try to sneak to the practice squad, or Derek Gore's there, and all of a sudden, now how many running backs are you carrying? Does McKinnon not make the cut? Does now Ronald Jones not make the cut? I don't know. What I do know is Isaiah Pacheco is making the 53-man roster, barring him kicking 3 kickoffs right back to the Bears on Saturday. Dave Tobe said he's the number 1 kick returner right now. Everybody says he looks good and is getting first-team work and feeling comfortable in the offense. I really liked the draft pick, which also the larger lesson that we can get more into later when we talk about Jones more and Clyde Edwards-Helaire more, is that you don't need to be a first-round pick to earn your hype in the preseason, in training camp, at the running back position. There are Isaiah Pachecos in the 7th round and undrafted pretty much every year, just as often as there are guys in the 1st round that end up making that kind of impact. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, and we'll begin hearing from the Chiefs from St. Joe right after we come back. Joshua Brisco and Beards McFly flying solos, duos, just the 2 of us here. No Jason Anderson in today's edition of The Zone.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, what'd you learn this weekend, Brisco?
Or in the Beards is a bleep head.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It is The Zone. There is no Jason Anderson today. My name's Joshua Brisco. I'm usually here. Now, a new addition to the show, though. A couple weeks into The Zone. Getting to come over here. Jason should be back tomorrow. Beards McFly still here on the other side of the glass. And we're waiting for press conferences from St. Joe. We'll hear live from the Chiefs. I believe our list today is Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, Josh Gordon. So they should be pretty near the tent. We'll keep an eye out on that here as we go. We are really close, perhaps. I was about to give away some tickets, and Beards just said, hey, man, don't give away any tickets. We don't want these people coming to the 100-year anniversary celebration. I was like, Beards, I thought we did want people coming to the 100-year celebration. You mean the one Thursday night at the Midland in Kansas City, the beautiful star-studded event that's going to encapsulate 100 years of WHB?
No, the other one.
I don't have any tickets to any other ones. I have tickets to that one to give away. We will give away some tickets today, and we will give you multiple chances to do that over the course of the show. But we believe that we should be just moments away from the Chiefs live from St. Joe with Andy Reid on his way to the podium. A lot to look forward to as we are in sort of preseason game week. As Chiefs-Bears coming on Saturday should be a lot of fun for a lot of the guys we've already talked about, from Pacheco and Sky Moore and George Karlaftis, largely a lot of the rookies, Pacheco being the upset special, I suppose, not the high draft pick that you're looking forward to. And Andy Reid will talk about him and many others right here live from St. Joe.
Groin strain, Fenton, same thing with the shoulder. He's making progress. Jody's making progress. Jennings, Yang, and Stallworth has a knee contusion and working through that. Other than that, everybody else practiced. Lighter practice today, lighter weather for us, so it was cool today. And the guys got good work in. I appreciate the effort and attention to detail that they're doing. We can always get better in that area, which we're working on, but they're focusing in and working, and that's so important. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Coach, we get Josh Gordon here shortly in a few minutes. As you look over his total body of work from the off-season workout program through 11 days of camp, how would you evaluate his development?
Yeah, Josh is he's attacked it. He's really, the last few days here, he's had really good days. And again, I appreciate his effort, and he's kind of the senior citizen of that group. You know, he's the older receiver in that mix and has had success in this league. And the way he approaches it is full throttle, and he's going for it. And there's great competition, but for him to be in there doing what he's doing, I appreciate, every snap he takes in there.
But you guys moved on from Baker in the past few days. Just what do you think when it's hit just not really working out here?
Yeah, good kid. He just we had to make some decisions on who's who there, and that's a route.
You talked about the competition at wide receiver. It's continued throughout camp. Is this about as competitive as a group that you had to try to, when you're going to have to get down to those numbers?
Yeah, I would tell you probably yes. I mean, every camp is competitive, but I tell you that because of some of the openings that we've had with people leaving, there's competition, and it's good. And then Brett's brought in great people, so he's brought in good players that are going to compete. And somewhere we're going to have to let some good players go, I'm sure. So, but it's a tribute to Brett and the job he's done.
You mentioned the new faces. I mean, obviously you have new veterans in, but a lot of rookies this year. Has that changed maybe your approach to rotations a bit during this camp, as far as maybe you're going to give some different guys looks, so maybe some other guys haven't gotten as many chances?
Well, we've done that before, so I don't want to tell you we haven't. We've moved people in and out just to see what we've got. One of the tricks is to come out of this thing, especially with the 3 games, come out of this thing knowing who you've got. And so we've tried to mix them in, and some of that chemistry stuff is important. See how they do with the ones, some of the twos, mix them in with the ones, and see how they handle it. Depth in this league is a beautiful thing. I mean, you want to make sure you've got it, and you don't want to miss on that. And sometimes those guys get neglected a little bit. But.
sorry, you went to see Vermeil
Yes.
before he went in the Hall of Fame. What compelled you to go take that trip out there?
Yeah, he's been a great mentor to me. I mean, for a lot of years, and you know how Coach Vermeil is. I mean, if he's in with you and knows you, he's in. So I've had some great times when we kind of followed a little bit of a couple of the same steps here. We're at Philadelphia, which is a unique place, and Kansas City, unique place. So we've had that experience, and when you're a head coach, there's not a lot of guys you can talk to that have that have been in the same places you've been, and he's been tremendous that way, just coaching me up on things.
Do you have any stories about what kind of resource he was for you when you were first getting started back in Philly?
Yeah, I invited him out to practice, and when he was done with his coaching, and I had called him. Actually, I had called him and talked to him before I took the Philly job, and he just said, "Listen, it's a great organization, great people. It's tough, but it's a great place to be. And if you can coach there, you can, you make it through. You're doing okay." So, but he lived there. That was kind of his home base, even though he's still working here and he's finishing up with the Rams. So, and then he did the same thing when I came here. The exact same thing. He talked to me about the atmosphere here and said what bad guys you are. No, but he coached me up on it, and that's priceless, right? I mean, that's priceless. So, and he checks in all the time. I mean, if it's not once a week, it's pretty close to once a week. And just make sure everything's going all right. He loves the game and that whole deal. So I appreciate all that.
We'll get Chris Jones in a second. How have you seen him evolve into the player he's become for you guys today?
Yeah, I mean, Chris has grown up right before us. I think we've seen that. He's going wild out here every day. In maximum effort, he's in great shape. Over the last few years here, he's really dedicated himself to being in tip-top shape and pushing himself. He's a fun-loving guy, but he's learned to kind of funnel that into when he's on the field. It's all business, and that's how he's gone about it. So Joe's been good with him and working hard. So he's on pace for a good year.
Couple more guys. Coach, we also get Creed Humphrey here shortly as well. If I were to make a statement that Creed is one of the best centers in the NFL, how much would you agree with that?
Yeah, so I think I would tell you Creed's challenge is this year, that he was a newcomer last year. Now all these coaches have had a chance to study him for an off season, and they'll try to throw him some different pitches in there. So how he handles that will be important. He played well last year and was one of the best, but these coaches get creative and they're going to challenge you. So the work that he's put in and he's putting in now is so important.
Coach, can you talk about having Michael Baker practice yesterday? What that relationship is for you and him?
Yeah, I'm a big Michael Vick fan. I've watched him go through his trials and tribulations and come out on the better end. He's a great father, husband, and he loves the game most of all. And he's doing what you guys do. So to get a little football fix, he was excited about that. And what a great player too. I mean, he was a phenomenal player and big heart. He's got a great heart to him.
Last two.
For this passing offense with guys doing so that the game is the lead on that,
Yeah, so it's important that we practice those, and it's good you call them in practice when you're going against a defense. We might not always get to the deep one; it might be covered. So these practices here, these 10-10s, where you have opportunities to take shots down the field, you take them and you get yourself on the same page with the receivers. We'll continue to do that as we go.
Last one, Aaron.
Being in camp, talking with Coach Vermeil, you ever think about putting that goal jack for yourself?
Yeah, that's not where my mind was, obviously. I mean, I was there for him. That seems those kind of things you don't. I don't think about. I'm trying to get this team ready to go play. So, but it was great to see him. I'll tell you what was a unique story was there were 5 guys that stood on the stage there. The stage is broken up. It's like a platform like this. There are 2 lines on either side, and they're all the yellow jackets that are already in the Hall of Fame. And each guy came down. The 4 before Coach Vermeil, he was last in line. They come down one side, one the other side, and they shake hands and high five, hug, and all that. The time that it took those 4 together to come down, took Coach Vermeil to come down and get on that stage. I mean, to the point where the fellow that was emceeing just goes, "Hey, this is Dick Vermeil. He's coached for 50 plus years. 50 plus years. He knows everybody." And that says it all. I mean, that's why he's there. Phenomenal human being.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
There you go. Andy Reid telling some good stories about Dick Vermeil. Said he checks in with him pretty much weekly still. And he's right. They have a lot of common ground in terms of the places they coach, even kind of a couple different acts in their careers. A lot of interesting stuff there, ranging from Josh Gordon to Michael Vick being out there yesterday. He was, I believe, a coaching intern a year or 2 ago. Beards said, we were kind of talking in the talk back there. Beards said, seems like something's going to happen there at some point. I think he's right about Michael Vick being around Andy Reid and the Chiefs. And we'll go back out to St. Joe to hear from Chris Jones live here on Sports Radio 810.
A little bit of both. You want to enjoy the time, enjoy the chemistry you're able to build, especially with your teammates, and being able to separate from everything else that's going on and being isolated here. You kind of enjoy that, but you also miss home. So it's a little bit in between.
Chris, we just talked to Andy, and you mentioned your ability to be a fun-loving guy, but when it comes to practice, you're all business. How do you go about flipping that switch when you do have to kick it down?
For me, more so, it's about, I have a mission here, especially when stepping on this practice field. Our mission is to get better, 1% better every day. And that's a balance. I mean, you can come out here and have fun, but make sure you're doing it at your highest capability on this field, making sure you're leading guys as an example. So I take that personal, especially when I'm stepping on the field.
You're obviously the leader of this defensive line. You've done the whole Sack Nation thing. What's the identity, do you think, of this year's defensive line?
Just being gritty, man. Being gritty. I think we left a lot of opportunities last year, our last game of the season on the field. And we was able to make a few changes in the defensive line room, bring my brother back, and a lot of familiar faces back. And I think this year it's about being gritty, stopping the run, stopping the pass, and doing whatever we can to help this defense out.
Chris, what signs are you seeing out there that maybe you guys will be more productive as a group as rushing quarterback this year?
As a D-line, more so it's all about being consistent, day in and day out, especially playing against our offense like we have. It's hard to stay at a high level consistently because they throw so many things at you. So for me, more so it's about being consistent on the front foot, making sure that we taking no days off.
You talked about using the Joe Burrow almost sack in the AFC Championship game last year as motivation. You not having a postseason sack, does that motivate you as well?
No, I got a postseason ring. I got a championship ring, you know what I mean? So when you talk about a postseason sack, I'm not really striving for postseason sacks. The game plan changed. The ordeal of the D-line, it changed. So when you talk about that, I have a ring. I have more rings than sacks, but this year I get a sack, if it makes y'all happy.
Chris, you've gone up against some of the NFL's best centers over your career. You get to practice against Creed Humphrey. How do you think he measures up when you compare him to some of the best centers in the NFL?
You look at his grade, should have been an All-Pro last year. They snubbed him from that. Snubbed him from his first Pro Bowl. But, hey, keep on chopping. Keep on chopping, and the success, it will come over time. Those guys are there front for 5 guys. They're relentless now. They're relentless. They're good. Doing a really good job of protecting Pat. And that's what we need. We're able to compete every day, challenge each other. And it's good when you have that type of talent on the offensive line because it makes guys around them better, especially the D-line. We're able to compete at a high level day in, day out.
And you get to go against him a couple times in the one-on-ones and full pass. How strong is this guy?
Well, I haven't went against him. I try to stay as far away from the nose spot as possible. But no, I'm just kidding. I've seen him. I've seen a lot of great competitive battles, especially one-on-one. That's when a mano against a mano. Am I better than you? So it's been a lot of competitive battles.
Chris, are there certain pass rushing techniques that you sort of identified and sort of worked on as a defensive end last year that you can sort of translate and use at defensive tackle this year, where maybe you haven't sort of shown that at that position?
I think it's all the same. Just defensive tackle happen more faster than the defensive end. You know, you have a few steps to take as a defensive end. As a tackle, you take one step, the guy is on you. So I think the game speed is a little more faster in defensive tackle, but I don't think the moves actually change.
Chris, you mentioned when you're talking about the defensive line, they got your brother back. It did seem like Frank may not be back this season. When you heard that news and heard that, okay, he's going to be back for 2022, how did you react to it?
I'm always ecstatic to have my brother back, man. I think Frank played a pivotal part of the success of this team, especially coming in first year winning a championship. Next year we're going to another championship in AFC last year. So I think he's been a huge part of the success of this team also. So when you have a guy like that back and know what he's capable of doing, I think he's almost about to have the record in the postseason at sacks. You know what I mean? And his success speaks for itself. I don't have to tell you his accolades, but I think it's ecstatic to have him back on the defensive line.
Sean has had some good reps on the inside this camp. How do you think him and Dana are doing on the inside?
Excuse me?
Sean Gordon.
Oh, Turk and Mike Dana, they're coming along. Coach Collins has been challenging those guys every day, and they've been dealing with adversity as well. They've been responding well, and it's actually exciting to see those guys grow and become who they are. You know, it's a day-to-day process, but that's what it's all about. Continue to grow, continue to get 1% better, and you know, I'm excited for him. It's a long season, and we'll see where it comes.
Chris,
go ahead, Dave.
Chris, having Joe as your new D-line coach, what's that experience been like?
I love Joe, man. Joe is my guy. Joe is my guy. Me and Joe see eye to eye on a lot of things. You know, I don't think we had a disagreement yet, but we definitely see eye to eye on a lot of different things and the mechanics, how we view pass rushing, the aspect of pass rushing, and how we feel this D-line should be, and, you know, what type of expectations we should have as a group. And I love Joe, man. That's my guy.
Now that you've had Carlos here for a little bit and he's ramping up, what's it like having him in that room and having him on the line?
He's still in the acclimation period, so I haven't been able to get the full strength of Carlos, but having his leadership and his knowledge of the game for him to be able to break things down and offer more ideas, I think is special for us as a D-line, and it can help us out on the pass rush.
Last two, Sam and Nick.
Chris, every year there's personnel changes. This year there's pretty significant ones without Tyron here and without Anthony here. What's it like without, you know, some pretty clear vocal leaders for you guys the past 2 years not being?
Yeah, we was able to bring in Justin Reed, and you know, we keep moving forward. I trust in Veach and Coach Reed to make those decisions, and whoever they bring, I think is best for the team. And, you know, Justin Reed, he's been a pivotal guy, forces one to step up, and, you know, one has answered that bell. He has answered that call. And I think it's been good for this defense as a whole to, you know, to have those guys back there. And, you know, that's the way the NFL works. You know, one year they here, next year they gone. You know, unfortunately, it's a business, but, you know, I'm thankful to have those guys that we have back there.
Chris, when you say you and Joe see eye to eye, is there an example where when you were first meeting him where you can sort of tell that this might be an impactful sort of addition to your career where you and Joe see eye to eye?
The first time we met, we actually discussed pass rush. I realized he was a high-energy guy, but we had a lot in common, and, you know, especially with the pass rush. I know I expressed my love for pass rushing the quarterback to him, and he expressed his love, and we kind of connected then, and, you know, it's been a beautiful thing so far, so we just got to keep it going.
There's Chris Jones. Quite a bit to say on quite a few different things there. His love for Joe Cullen, the new defensive line coach that the Chiefs brought in this offseason. Also a pretty good line. Hey, does it give you some motivation that you don't have a postseason sack? Nah, I've got a postseason ring. It's pretty good. Rings isn't always a be-all, end-all argument, but it's a pretty good one there. Let's switch to the other side of the line. Creed Humphrey live from St. Joe.
Kind of a snub, but how much do you even think about that kind of stuff? And if you do think about it, what kind of motivation does that give you?
Yeah, I appreciate that from Chris. Getting that praise from a guy as good as him is pretty cool. But, to be honest, I don't really try to think of those things during the season. I try to just focus on what I can do for the team and, how I can improve my game. So.
Coach Reed said coming back for the second year is even harder because the defenses they'll be coming at you in a different way. What sort of things can you try to prepare for that? Who are you leaning on to understand what might be different this time around?
Yeah, it's nice having guys like, Joe, Orlando, Andrew on the line, that have been in that position, that have came in that second year, have done that second year. So it's been nice to talk to them about it and everything. For me, it's really just I'm continuing to focus on my game and, try to get my weaknesses better and my strengths better. So really that's what I'm focused on right now in camp is improving how I play the game.
Reed, now that you guys have had a couple of fully padded practices with a complete line, are you noticing anything that gives you sort of optimism that you guys can get better in certain aspects in year two together?
Yeah, definitely. It's been very competitive these past couple of weeks. We've had some hot days, really humid hot days. It's been, everybody's been pretty moist out there. Just getting after it, though, and competing every play. So it's been really good. You kind of see the mental toughness of what we have in the group and, what the defensive line has in the group. So it's been really fun to see. And, I think, we have some very talented guys who are also, in love with the game. They want to continue to be great and become better. So it's always a good thing when you have that in a room.
When you got three teams that you play twice in the season, do those three teams give you a lot of different stuff than maybe you saw in the first matchup against them? Or did you see teams adjusting to you?
Adjusting to me individually?
Yeah, when they're like, for example, the Broncos, the second time you play them, are they attacking you differently than the first time you
Yeah, I think it goes from person to person. Everybody has played you, they kind of know what to expect, so they're going to adjust their game accordingly. The same way I'm going to adjust my game whenever I play them. So, definitely there's points in the game where you can tell that they made an adjustment to how they're going to rush you or how they're going to play on, different blocks. But it's also something that you can kind of see coming if you're watching film, what they like to do against, certain types of things. So it's really, they're going to make adjustments, but, so do we.
Chris joked that he tries to avoid doing one-on-ones. What type of challenge is that going up against Chris when you do try?
Yeah, Chris is one of those guys that if he wants to get after you in one-on-ones, he's going to. He's got so many great moves, and he's so good at every single move he does. So talented, so athletic, very agile for how big he is, very strong too. So he's one of those guys that he's just a different beast. So. He's definitely a fun guy to go against in practice, though. You're going to get better every time you go against him. So it's been awesome to go against him this camp.
What do you think is his best move?
Oh, man. He's really good with his hands, being able to forklift your hands off him. He's got that really good. His power moves are all good. He's really good at swatting hands, too. So, he's just very well-rounded. He doesn't have a certain move that he's good at. He's good at so many different things.
One-on-ones are usually one of the highlights of practice that people really enjoy watching. How much do you enjoy them, and how do you approach them? Do you approach them like you're working on something specific, or is it just a competition?
Yeah, well, it's definitely competition first, but it's also a good time where you can, settle down, work on different techniques that you want to use to get better at, things like that. So the way I approach it is obviously you want to win the rep, but you want to be able to work on different moves, going against different guys who have different moves, who may rush different than other guy you win against. Really, for me, it's about settling down, making sure you're working on those moves the right way, and then just competing after that.
Reed, with the wrestling background you have, what about it was able to help you transition so quickly in the NFL and have the success you've had?
Yeah, definitely, balance, mental toughness aspect of wrestling was a huge key for me. You're mentally drained throughout the whole wrestling season. You're cutting weight every day. You're cutting 30 pounds every week just to make weight, different things like that. So definitely mental toughness. That's a big thing. Balance, core strength, core power, the way you use your hands, and then, understanding leverage. Those are some of the biggest things.
Having gone to Texas, what was that experience like at OL Masterminds, and were you able to kind of learn there that you're hoping to help translate to this?
Yeah, it was really good this year. We had a lot of different Hall of Fame guys. We had Willie Rofe there this year, Steve Hutchinson, Mark Schlereth, Willie Anderson. So it was a good group of guys that was there, and it was really cool to hear from them. Their different experiences and how they approached the game and what made them so good. So it was a really good time to talk to them and just kind of understand what made them so good and what made them special players.
Is there one story that somebody gave you that really kind of stuck with you and you're going to take with you from last year?
Man, I would say Willie Roaf, just, him coming from New Orleans to Kansas City, that whole experience for him and just how he handled it. And, just became such a great player here too and, made a huge impact for this organization that was really cool to hear, from my end. So I definitely thought that was cool.
There's Chiefs center Creed Humphrey live from St. Joe here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Joshua Brisco, Beards McFly with you. Jason Anderson out today, should be back tomorrow. You've heard now Creed Humphrey, and I also think Trey Smith talked about Willie Roaf. I was trying to find, I don't actually see, I'm trying to remember who it was that was also talking about learning from Willie Roaf at the OL Masterminds event. Maybe we just heard from Creed twice on that topic. I'm not sure. Those guys were all definitely down there together, though. I just went and found a picture from July. Interesting stuff there in the trenches. But let's go back out to wide receivers as Josh Gordon takes the podium in St. Joe.
How do you feel in the offense, and how much more comfortable do you feel with Pat as far as chemistry?
Very comfortable. Very comfortable. The playbook, similar now. I think we changed it a little bit, but more or less the same. So it's been easy for me to adapt to it, kind of carry over from last year.
With your career going how it's gone, where are you at mentally right now?
I think I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better opportunity. Go ahead.
Is there anything that you wanted to sort of further develop after getting that game experience last year, now having a full off season to work with him?
Yeah, I believe so. I think there's definitely a rapport to be built on. I know we didn't have that last year really at all. I think this off season has been my first opportunity, our first opportunity to do that. Coach Reed and the offensive coordinators and everything here, they've given me that opportunity to try to, to get to that point with him. So, we got some time left here before the preseason, so maybe we'll see what happens, and hopefully I do enough to make the team.
Yeah, I think last season was a trying time for a lot of people. You coming in and trying to get quickly involved on a train that's just moving very fast. Can you describe how difficult it was to get into a rhythm, knowing that the team was already through a lot of what they had already put into the playbook?
Yeah, for a team like the Chiefs coming to this team in different scenario, figuring out which roles to play, things like that, it was almost a insurmountable task, so I was just happy to be out there, be of any use I could be. But it was definitely a steep hill to climb, that's for sure.
Josh, does it bother you at all seeing some of the suspension numbers, given what your suspension was, maybe for something less serious now in the NFL?
It compares to?
Well, specifically like a Deshaun Watson type of suspension, obviously what you did cost you more games than
just different times. I think we're living in different times, and but I'm not really sure to touch on that in this situation. I'm not sure the details on it. I'll be honest, but so it's really out of my hands, man. But I wish them the best. I wish the league the best. I wish they figure it out. So. Yeah.
What's it like being in that wide receiver room this year? A lot of guys getting a lot of competition.
Oh man, some great group of guys. A lot of talent, very deep, extremely fast. It's highly competitive. I think it's a perfect nature to groom young men for excellence, especially on the football field and off as well. Just as far as being disciplined, knowing how we got to edge out the competition, not only each other, for the sake of our livelihood, but the other team, most importantly. So. Yep.
Do you approach preseason games at this stage in your career slightly different than maybe 2012, 2013?
Man, at this point, I'm just happy to have any preseason game. If I'm playing any game, honestly, anytime I'm out there, I'm just happy to be out there. If I'm playing, if I'm not playing, just to be in the environment, atmosphere, it's a good time.
You mentioned you hope you do enough between now and the roster trimmings to make the team. What do you think you need to do to make this team?
Make plays when coach asks me to.
Yeah. So you are looking forward to the opportunities to get more reps during the preseason games, especially.
Absolutely. That's that's when it's time to do what we get asked to do. You know, that's what I came here to do when the lights were on. You know, we want to do it practice first for sure, but you can't always get it right in practice. You don't always have the time, the reps, opportunity. You got to take the mental reps and what space and opportunity I have, and then just go show and prove it. So come go preseason games, that's what I hope to do.
Generally speaking, as you watch tape and kind of self-evaluate, how do you feel your camp has gone so far, and what do you hope to accomplish the rest of the way?
I think there's definitely room for improvement always, as long as I've been doing it now. Still, that's a frustrating part of the game, the bittersweetness of it, but that's what kind of keeps us coming back, kind of like, you know, your golf swing or something like that, if you like golf, you know what I mean? So I love the game. I'm addicted to it. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm watching it. I'm watching to see, you know, how can I get out of break quicker, maybe transition a little bit better, you know, after the catching the ball in general, you know, things like that. So.
What's it been like being with Corey Coleman in camp? Having him?
Corey, man, that's my guy. Love Corey to death. Glad to see him back out here doing his thing, you know, staying at it, staying hungry, diligent, hardworking, definitely more mature, you know, from when I know him, a young cat. So it's good to see him at this point developing his career and still hungry, still at it. And, you know, the world is up for grabs for him. So.
You guys spend a lot of time together watching film or just hanging out?
All that. We talk football every day. He's always calling me about something, trying to figure out what I think about some route he ran a week ago or something, you know. So we'll end up on, yeah. We do that a lot.
Like when you're a friend of the guy way back in the day, and you mentioned the competitiveness of this camp. You guys may be fighting for the same spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nah, I mean, he knows. There's no love lost there. You know, if he edges me out, I'd love it. I'd love it. That means he got, you know, I gave him my all, he gave his all, and that's all I could want for him. You know, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's bigger than the game of football. You know, so I just want him the best for him, and I just want to see myself do the best I could do.
what's your confidence level right now that you'll be on this roster?
There's no telling. You know, I'd say. You know, cards are close to the vest, I think, as they should be for everybody, I think, for important reasons. But more importantly, I just want to go out and with the opportunities I get, give them 110%, and wherever the cards fall where they may, and see what happens. But I do not have an answer for that, to be honest. I don't. You know, I wasn't a starter last year, you know, so I'm fighting for a spot like everybody else.
Yeah. Josh, because you played with so many different quarterbacks in your career, I just wonder what jumps out to you about Patrick when you guys aren't on the field practicing at this certain setting in camp.
He's quick. He's quick-witted. He's adept to things. Very almost before he sees things almost before they happen. Somewhat on film, he's noticing things in 3 or 4 different places at once. You can notice how just how attentive he is in noticing just the environment around him. His awareness, you know, is very good.
Josh, you talked about being grateful for the opportunity. I've heard it a few times. I think you've had it on social media. Just what goes into that for you to just keep saying that and saying that you're blessed and having this? What goes into that? Because
I don't think you have to overcomplicate it. You know, I think a lot of times we tend to overthink things. I know I do. I can speak for myself. So I probably used to, probably more than I think I should. And at the end of the day, just controlling what you can and what we have in front of us. And that's the mindset, I think, to try to stay right there and live for the day. You know, keep it simple.
What would today's Josh Gordon say to 2013 Josh Gordon or young rookie Josh Gordon?
Oh, man. It's going to be a long road. There's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs. You know, when you're down, just keep going. You know, find a way, just keep going.
All good?
There's Josh Gordon live from St. Joe, live here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City. Joshua Brisco, Beards McFly, the two here with you today in the zone. Jason Henderson out today. A lot to break down there. We'll take a break here in a second and come back and sift through some of the things you heard there from Andy Reid, Josh Gordon, Creed Humphrey, Chris Jones. A lot of good stuff, plus also some things you may have missed over the weekend from Eric Bieniemy and Juan Thornhill. But we're working around here up to a big day on Thursday, because Thursday night, is the celebration of 100 years of WHB. And also, you're invited. And if you get in under the wire, here's what we're going to do. You can call in at 913-381-810 to win a pair of tickets to our 100-year celebration Thursday night. That's at the Midland. It's going to be an incredible evening. And for you to win the tickets, we're going to give away 3 pairs of tickets right now. So your chances are pretty good, but you're not going to just get them for free. Right now, they'll be free, but you're not going to get them for nothing. Because what I want you to do is we've been talking a lot this offseason about Tyreek Hill. Now in training camp, we've been talking a lot about Isaiah Pacheco, Trent Green. Believe he's on the attendance list right now for our evening at the Midland. Who else has worn number 10 for the Kansas City Chiefs? Call in, tell Beards someone who has worn number 10 for the Chiefs in a regular season game who is not Tyreek Hill, Trent Green, or Isaiah Pacheco. Those are too easy. Reach the next level of your Chiefs knowledge. A Chiefs player who's worn number 10, 3 winners. You can have all the same answer. Don't worry about which 10 you get. Just make sure you're a 10 when you call 913-381-810. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
WHB's 100-year celebration brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, Tickets for Less, Easton Roofing, Sandlot, Main Street Buick GMC, Core First Bank, Pizza Shuttle, Victory Ford, Bushnell, and the Hilton President Kansas City. It's not too late to sponsor the WHB 100-year celebration. For more details, call 913-344-1530. Sponsorships start for as little as $500 and support 4 amazing Kansas City charities.
Chiefs Kingdom. Are you ready to get back to Arrowhead? Tickets for Less can help. Tickets for every Chiefs game are officially on sale at ticketsforless.com. If you're looking for tickets to this season's must-see Chiefs games, then check out the great selection and prices at ticketsforless.com.
Dust off your cooker and fire up the grill for summer. Missing a few items to get your cook started? Well, head over to the Kansas City Barbecue Store, 119th and Strangline in Olathe. You can stock up on all your grilling supplies, name brand cookers, pellets, probes, knives, sauces, rubs, and competition quality meats are always in stock at the Kansas City Barbecue Store. Don't be afraid to go big on the grill this summer. Go see Dan and the team at the Kansas City Barbecue Store today.
Smoke and Fire is your Weber dealer. When it comes to grilling, it's Weber. They have in stock every Weber part, accessory, and cover. Smoke and Fire has the best selection of Weber gas and charcoal grills in town. Look for the new Smoke and Fire location in Rosanna Square coming soon. Play Summer Heat Pick and Win all through August for chances to win your share of up to $100,000 in lucky loot. Come by 7th Street Casino and play Summer Heat Pick and Win all through August. You could be a big winner. 7th Street Casino, located in Kansas City's historic downtown district. Win bigger at 7th Street Casino, Kansas City's only 24/7 all-slot casino. 7th Street Casino in the heart of downtown KCK.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
An effective defense often hinges on sophisticated strategies relating to income tax projections, business valuations, spousal support claims. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men protect their financial interests. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Missouri or Kansas attorneys. A partner men can count on. 816-842-2400. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Independence and by appointment only in Overland Park.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. Has Viagra stopped working for you? Do you hate the side effects? If you've taken Viagra for any length of time, you already know that pills are not the solution to ED. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we have a better approach to ED. Acoustic wave therapy creates blood flow circulation by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. No pills, no shots, no surgery. We can also treat Peyronie's disease. Our non-invasive treatment for ED is painless and highly effective. We have treated thousands of men just like you. Stop living with this problem and do something about it. Do yourself a favor, do your partner a favor, and call us today.
Call 913-243-3200. That's 913-243-3200. 913-243-3200. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
Jayhawk fans, season tickets for the 2022 Kansas football season are on sale for as low as $185. Get your tickets now at kuathletics.com/tickets or by calling 800-34-HAWKS.
Worth Harley-Davidson is offering top dollar for your trade. Cars, boats, trucks, it doesn't matter. As long as it has a VIN, Worth will trade for it. And Worth is offering cash on the spot if you have a motorcycle to sell. See the inventory online at worthharleydavidson.com or shop Worth in person. I-29 just south of the airport.
Hey, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. When the games are on, remember 23rd Street Brewery is the place to catch them all. You can always count on our huge portions and our handcrafted beers, but what you might not know are our fabulous cocktails. Our bartenders take a lot of pride in creating adult beverages that you will love. You'll be surprised how incredible they are. And of course, big screen TVs everywhere you look, so you won't miss a play. So join us at 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence, 23rd and Castle.
For residential and commercial roofing repair and replacement, Gutters 2 in Kansas City and Lawrence, contact Buck Roofing and sleep well knowing that Buck replaced the roof over your head.
Are you sick and tired of that constant pain in your knees or hips or back? Especially this time of year, you need to be moving pain-free, right? This is Stephen St. John for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people here every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing damaged tissue with no drugs, no steroids, and no surgery. Listen, the old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new natural way to deal with joint pain with no side effects and no downtime. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299 off 435 in State Line or in Gladstone. 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
Listen to all the live press conferences from Chiefs training camp right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's another reason why I go out here and play my tail off for this city and this organization.
It's rare now, but is that a goal for you when you think about playing your entire career and being a member of the Chiefs?
I don't plan on playing anywhere else, brother. Hope the Chiefs have that in mind too.
Training camp coverage on Sports Radio 810 WHB is presented by Bud Light, for the fans.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. I played linebacker. I won a state championship. I played Division I ball. I know a thing or two about winning. A winning attitude starts with confidence. My law firm is so confident in what we do that if we take your injury case and we don't win, you don't pay us a dime. So if you've been hurt, call me. My team wants to win for you. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
The Bollerson Auto Group is an automotive source for dozens of reasons. 3 great dealerships provide everything you need.
We have over 500 vehicles, virtually anything you would want. Ford, Honda, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, and more.
We also service all makes and models. All maintenance and parts, all bodywork and detailing, we keep your vehicle looking like new.
We are the oldest, largest family-owned auto group in Kansas City. Almost 50 years of service to over 1 million customers.
Come to Blue Springs Ford.
Come see it all at Lee Summit Subaru. Lee Summit Honda, where we treat you like family.
Thank you, Kansas City. Hi, folks. Bob at Blue Springs Ford. Hey, Blaine, let's talk about 2023 Fords.
Dad, 2023 Fords are now available to order. Yes, they're coming. You can custom order. Plus, we're not hiking up prices like other dealers. Lock in our lowest price and lowest interest rate.
If the prices or interest rate go up, you don't care because you're locked in. Plus, you're getting a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Come to Blue Springs Ford or go to bluespringsford.com because if you don't come see us today,
we can't save you any money.
Worth Harley-Davidson is offering top dollar for your trade. Cars, boats, trucks, it doesn't matter. As long as it has a VIN, Worth will trade for it. And Worth is offering cash on the spot if you have a motorcycle to sell. See the inventory online at worthharleydavidson.com or shop Worth in person. I-29 just south of the airport.
It's The Zone here on Sports Radio 810, WHB. Joshua Brisco and Beards McFly with you. Jason Anderson out today. I expect to have him back tomorrow. Chris Jones is with a Bobcat, James Palmer, and on NFL Network. Is that Mariucci holding the Bobcat? I'm not sure what's going on there. Apparently there's a small Bobcat in St. Joe. I don't know how many are in St. Joe. There's at least one. We gave away a handful of tickets, 3 pairs, in fact. We'll have more to give away today as we go, so don't give up just yet if you're trying to get to the 810 WHB 100-year anniversary party on Thursday. We will continue giving away tickets to that over the course of the Zone here today. And the program will give away tickets as well, so chances all day long here on 810. But the answers we would have accepted for players to wear number 10 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Beards, can you tell me who our winning guesses were? Because it was not the first one I would have picked.
I had 2 different people guess Pete Stoyanovich, and then one other person guessed Mike Livingston.
Those are both correct. I can go old to new here. Jimmy Saxton for 1 year, Pete Beathard for a few, Livingston, Frank Surer, Mike Elkins, that was a 1 year stint. Kent Sullivan, 1992, 1 year stint. Stoyanovich, as you mentioned, Trent Green, not eligible. Trent Green, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyreek Hill were why we were asking the question. Marquise Higgins in 2008. Terrence Copper for 3 years, 2009 through 2012, would have been acceptable. I thought for sure we would get a Chase Daniel answer, as he was the last quarterback to wear number 10 after Trent Green. The only quarterback with the Chiefs to wear number 10 after Trent Green before Tyreek Hill took that over in 2016. And so now Isaiah Pacheco is wearing number 10. We'll give some more tickets away, as I said. We'll talk some Royals here in about 45 minutes. Craig Brown of Into the Fountains will join us, and I think we will just have a pretty feel-good conversation about the Royals. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to rush it, but we'll get there at noon, and I have some thoughts based off yesterday's game that we'll get into even after Craig. So maybe we'll get you just, I don't know, a mainline hour of Royals talk. We're going to predominantly be building Chiefs around the day, though. Saturday, the first preseason game of the year in Chicago against the Bears, and some interesting storylines and some legitimate things to learn. Some mentioned by Andy Reid just earlier here last hour. We had the press conferences. Also, by the way, a little PSA on a couple of fronts. Some things near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that listeners of The Zone, if you're just driving around right now, however you found us, thanks for being here. But did you know there are lots of other ways you can get involved with the show? There's a text.
Really?
Beards. There are so many ways you can get involved with the show.
You mean like besides just radio?
I hope
this is a radio station, Josh.
Beards, are you sitting down?
Yeah.
You know how you could prove that?
How?
By showing the people you in your chair. You can watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Twitch has been my favorite place, at least, for interactions, and you can interact with each other during the show. You can get to me and Beards, even whenever, when Jason's here, we don't make Jason man all the computers, so, you can appeal to the sensibilities of me and Beards through the Twitch, the Facebook, and the YouTube. You also have the text line, which I have open today. This is usually what Jason looks at, but you can text the show as well, 913-912-4810, and you can listen to the show on the 810 WHB mobile app, 810WHB.com, and wherever you get your podcasts. That was actually where I was going to start with all of this, is to say if you missed any of the pressers, anything from the first hour, our opening conversation, anything ever, if you go, I want to hear Ryan Tracy of RGR Football and Locked On Chiefs when he joins the show at 1, but I can't. I won't be in my car. I won't be by a radio. Hey, man, don't sweat it. That's what podcasts are for. So you can subscribe. Just search for The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You'll see the art. You'll see it's us. And we'll have all that up at the end of the show today as well. If you missed any of it, we podcast every single hour, every segment of the show in hour-long chunks up on the podcast page. And you can make The Zone everlasting if you'd like that. If that idea scares you, you can just keep listening. You can keep listening in a way that you don't have to, download and carry in your pocket forever. We got the radio still, but lots of different ways you can watch the show, listen to the show, interact, and get in touch. Also, we're giving away tickets through the other various mediums as well. Giving away some tickets in the text line, giving away some tickets on the video streams, calling in. So just lots of different ways to get in touch with us here in the Zone. Touch us, the Zone. The Zone, touch us. Get in touch with us, the Zone. Get in touch with the Zone, with our Zone. You're in the Zone, the Touch Zone.
Jason Anderson's Zone?
Hi, I'm Jason Anderson's Zone. That one's sort of like a Fight Club thing. Another movie I've seen. Take that, Jason.
Thank God.
If you were here, you'd be so proud of me. Just kidding. He wouldn't be. He would be not mad at me for having seen Fight Club. I've seen Fight Club multiple times. Oh, it's a good... I enjoyed the film. Beards, how old were you when you realized that the angel face was Jared Leto?
Like probably 2 or 3 years ago.
It was recent, though,
yes,
right?
It was recent.
I had the same experience, right? I saw Fight Club pre-knowing who Jared Leto was, and then again after the fact, and went, holy bleep, that's Jared Leto. That was sort of the end of my discovery, but in case anybody's wondering around, someone just learned right now. Someone just learned that Jared Leto is in Fight Club, and he is the beautiful that is destroyed. Spoiler alert. Then that movie's been out for longer than I have, just in the world, right? That's probably... When did Fight Club come out?
I think it was like 99 or something like that.
You're right, 99. All right, so Fight Club is...
Almost as old as you.
Almost as old as I am. Speaking of movies with Brad Pitt in them, and also 810 events that we gave tickets out to our beloved Dexters. Bullet Train. I'm going to get to some press conference stuff. We're just here. We're on Brad Pitt movies by accident, and I want to deliver our Bullet Train reviews. Beards, you can go first, because the longer I have thought about it, the more extreme my take has gotten.
Oh, boy.
Which I think is just what happens sometimes. You watch something, and you think you have your opinion, and then you just sort of sit with it for a while, and it just gets more and more and more ramped up for no particular reason. Then all of a sudden you're on First Take saying that, that I could have dusted Bob Cousy. And eventually, like, oh, this one got away from me. I think my Bullet Train take may have gotten away from me, but I want to get yours first, so I can top it.
It was an enjoyable, fun movie. It was a really cool setting. Train movies are always pretty good. I enjoyed the cast that was in it. It had some good action scenes. I'm trying to think. There was a lot of good cameos that just kind of kept popping up, and you're like, oh, that person's in it. Oh, that person's in it.
Do you know what it has on Rotten Tomatoes? From critics?
From critics? I think so. Isn't it in kind of like the 50s range?
54%.
Yeah. It was better than that. It was a good time.
I am baffled by 54%. My review of Bullet Train is that it is what you would get if Wes Anderson, director of films very important to my general being, like Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs and Darjeeling Limited and Grand Budapest Hotel and Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and Moonrise Kingdom and lots of other ones that I'm sure someone just realized I didn't mention their favorite Wes Anderson movie, Bottle Rocket Rushmore. I think I probably missed one in there somewhere. Royal Tenenbaums. Is that all of them?
I think the only one I've seen is Rushmore.
They're all great. I love Wes Anderson movies. This should surprise no one who knows me. But Bullet Train is what you would get if Wes Anderson just did a Scarface pile of blow, watched Murder on the Orient Express on one screen and Deadpool on the other screen, just watched them both simultaneously, and then just went on a liquid diet of sugar-free Red Bull for the duration of production. That is what would have birthed Bullet Train. And I mean every syllable of that as a compliment. Because I like every single thing I mentioned in that tweet. Except for the cocaine. TBD. It is a trip, man. Bullet Train is a trip. If this is a thing that I find out that I like that is critically panned in the movie world, I'm willing for this to be the one. Like, I thought that this would be aesthetically artsy and interesting enough for, like, movie snobs to still really enjoy it, and it is a pretty hard R. There are some there are some grisly scenes. And by grisly scenes, I mean the duration of the movie pretty much. But I thought the casting was great. I thought the characters, for not getting a ton of time to get fleshed out, were really good. You had opinions on all the characters, like, immediately. I thought Sterling Holmes was great in the role that he was apparently cast in. That joke was just for Beards, unless you know what Sterling looks like and have seen Bullet Train. And if you know what Sterling looks like and have seen Bullet Train, that joke killed.
That's a small group.
But it includes me and Beards. I thought it was. I went in having seen the trailer, which got my expectations up, having seen a couple of very downer headlines, which sort of tanked my expectations, and then as the movie went on, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was gonna say the counting scene very early on, where there's a disagreement on a certain number, and they go through and count. At that moment, I was like, hey, this isn't what I expected it to be. I love a train murder movie. Again, like Murder on the Orient Express, sort of a little mystery to it. They're kind of unpacking it as they went. I really liked it. And I think I'm alone on an island, at least in terms of, people who can kind of be movie snobs sometimes. I thought it kind of ruled. I'm a big fan.
It was fun.
I'm not going to make Renee go to a theater to watch it again. But whenever it's out on streaming, I absolutely would watch it a second time. And just to gauge, I think, if Renee actually does want to stick through the whole thing. Also, I recently, this is so specific, you have to have seen the movie for this to matter to you. I recently bought a bucket hat that looks very similar to the one that Brad Pitt wears throughout the movie. And I'm really just pointing this out so you know that whenever you see me out here just rocking this bucket hat, maybe that's going to be the top of my 100-year outfit. It's going to be, I'm going to be dressed to the nines with a nice kind of washed out pink bucket hat and some big glasses. If you put me on a train, you're going to want to get away. There's action's about to happen. I don't know what it's going to be. There's about to be some action. The intricacies of what Brad Pitt's characters, I don't know, man. I thought that movie, I thought Bullet Train was fun and smart and aesthetically really beautiful, interesting, visually engaging. Kind of makes me sad that more people don't like it. I'm a fan. This is longer than a shot clock review, Beards. What would you give it out of 10? I'm in 7.5 to 8 territory. I'm enjoying it the farther I get away from it, the more I realize I'm just upping my numbers. I'm giving it a 9.7.
I go about 7.
It's definitely at least 7. I think that's totally fair.
It's a fun time.
It really is.
Go see it.
Anyway, we have a bunch of Chiefs audio. I don't remember exactly how we got to Fight Club and Brad Pitt, but we Beards and I both were gonna we had our Bullet Train reviews, locked and loaded in the chamber for Friday. We didn't get to it, so there you go. You had a weekend to see it without knowing what we thought. Now you know. I'm in favor of the film. I think people should go see it. Let's take an early break here because I have a lot more Chiefs stuff that I want. Beards just looked over at the screen and went, wow, okay. It's a 2-segment hour. I don't see us getting this one back on track. Pun absolutely intended on this particular runaway train that was this segment. Easy for me to say. So I think what we do is we just let this train keep going to the station. We let this one chugga right away. We, don't be a diesel, Beards. Let this train go, and we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some more things that I thought were interesting out of St. Joe, some press conference tidbits, plus some stuff from the weekend that you may have missed from Eric Bieniemy and Juan Thornhill. Both of them gave some intriguing nuggets. Plus, I want to talk about the running back position, and Eric Bieniemy will help me do that. What, Beards?
I think you're a Percy. I was trying to remember. I was trying to go back to my childhood and remember some names there. I think I got one.
You have to watch Bullet Train to understand exactly how Beards is making me recontemplate my entire life over the course of this break.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You're dumb, but you're not stupid.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rolling on with the Zone here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Joshua Brisco in the big chair today. Jason Anderson is out. Beards McFly still here on the other side of the glass, though. First, Beards, quick housekeeping. You need to issue a correction on something.
Do.
Okay, go ahead.
So I called you a Percy last segment. You're actually more of a Gordon. A proud, pompous, arrogant, stubborn, prideful, and self-important train engine.
Well, that is pretty hurtful, and I'm going to try not to take it super personally and just keep chugging along. Because I've also, some sources say that Gordon is good-hearted and willing to forgive and uses superior strength to help out smaller engines in trouble. I think it's really all about your perspective. I think you're being kind of a diesel right now. All right, several things. Those don't worry about it. You can listen to the podcast if that makes no sense because you joined during a commercial break. I get it. Just had to issue a quick correction. Don't worry about it. Let's go back to what we were learning a little bit earlier today as the Chiefs continue training camp in St. Joe. Today we heard from Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, and Josh Gordon. To work kind of backwards here, I honestly was surprised to see Josh Gordon on the list for the podium today, because it just doesn't seem like he's been trending in the right direction purely vis-a-vis roster spots. There have been some reports of him having some drops, not being particularly standout-ish in this group of wide receivers. He's even talked there about Corey Coleman, his relationship with him, presumably dating back to Cleveland, and the back and forth that they have. Even that I thought was actually genuinely pretty insightful, because there's so much stuff that the NFL does a really good job of sanitizing what we know about the sport. And I don't just mean like hiding roster moves or trying to keep players out of trouble or any kind of the things you might expect when I say the word sanitizing. But there's just a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't see, therefore we don't really think about. One example of this, I saw somebody who was at camp tweeted out a picture of Steve Spagnuolo off to the side working with one of the corners. I think it was Joshua Williams. But it reminded me of a story from the first practice I went to after the Chiefs had hired Spagnuolo. Mini camp, fenced off it at Arrowhead, and we were off over on one side and they were working on the far side. And there was a corner who I think was L'Jarius Sneed, if the timing on all that works out. There's a corner working off to the side with somebody, and presumably it was Sneed. I was looking over trying to figure out what's going on over there. Is there an injury? No, it looks like he's working one-on-one with somebody. Is he working with a DB's coach? Who's he working with? Oh, that's just him and Steve Spagnuolo over there, and Spags is doing, the footwork and teaching some element that he wanted to, impose that wisdom on, again, I think, Sneed. Someone tweeted out a picture of the same thing with Spags and Joshua Williams this camp, and it reminded me of, hey, if you're going to St. Joe, there's a lot that you can keep an eye out for, but one of the most underrated parts is trying to see the stuff that you don't have to consider very often on game day. Whenever you can watch, especially the coordinators, really the position coaches too, the position coaches, particularly Joe Colin, the defensive line, Andy Heck on the offensive line, some of the stuff whenever they're working on the trenches, you're going to see cool elements of the process where you are seeing these guys, again, think about specifically Spagnuolo and Bieniemy. We talk about those two as strategists. Andy Reid too. Reid and Bieniemy and Spags, more than anything else, we talk about those guys as strategists. How do you adjust to the game plan that's coming in? Where is your game plan at right now? How has your game and your scheme evolved from last year? But, and this is something I would like to ask them about specifically to figure out what they think what their answer would actually be for a percentage of this. But tremendous portion of their job is to be a teacher. Which, again, position coaches, I think we give them more credit for that probably. But the more you kind of wash out the details, and this is one thing I think is great about having things like the media and having access to things like practices, and certainly fans also being able to go watch training camp, I think is awesome. Because you get to see parts of it you would not otherwise realize. If you go and you watch the team drills and stuff, that's fun. You're seeing something behind the scenes. You're getting a peek behind the curtain. That is a very cool part of it all. Whenever they're doing individual drills, see if you can find this team's defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator off to the side working with a young player on some specific technique that they think is going to show up in some way, shape, or form over the course of their rookie year, to try to get them up to speed, especially this defense right now. Now, offensively, you got a lot of new guys, but defensively, you got a lot of rookies who are going to have to start, like play soon. Karlaftis and McDuffie, first-round instant starters. Have to be. They just have to be. Joshua Williams rotating in very frequently with the ones as Rashad Fenton works back from injury. Brian Cook rotating in consistently. Those guys are all getting a real crash course right now, and I think that seeing the coaches be in teaching mode when we only ever see them in play calling mode on the sidelines with the play sheet in front of their mouth, it's a cool other element you can latch on to at camp. The reason that whole sidetrack came to mind is because also Josh Gordon talking about Corey Coleman on a regular basis, trying to ask him about some route that he ran a week ago. We just don't have to consider that very often. You just have guys at the bottom of the roster who don't make it, and you go, all right, cool, better luck next year. Then Tyreek Hill, runs a post that he takes for 40 yards and a touchdown. I'm like, yes, look at this. He's just faster than everybody else. But there are so many people working so hard on so many details that are also all in competition with each other. Josh Gordon and Corey Coleman are not both going to make this team. They might have neither of them make it, but they're not both going to end up with a roster spot. It seems very unlikely. Justin Watson seems like kind of the veteran who can definitely be on special teams on a regular basis. Probably get somebody else. Could be Josh Gordon. But Gordon's not going to be out there on special teams, so his spot is even more difficult to narrow down. Coleman probably could play some special teams. Again, Watson definitely does. Coleman was, and then sounded like had a bad day back on Friday. But all of that I just think is some of that under-the-surface stuff that you don't think about in your fantasy drafts or even when you're watching games on Sunday, because oftentimes that is the work done by players who you don't even see their jersey numbers unless special teams are out there. But I always like hearing those stories. I think they add a little more to the people behind all of this. Also, Josh Gordon talking about last year. It's funny. This will be true whenever we play these Thornhill clips in a minute also. Guys are always a lot more likely to be honest about their difficulties after the fact rather than as it's happening, which makes sense. If I sat here today and I said, hey, this show's really not going very well because I, had to prick my finger a second ago and check my blood sugar and then eat a granola bar. Which I did do all those things, but everything's fine. Just you might not be able to tell by the quality of the radio show, but I'm great. But if I said that right now, you'd be like, okay, we're looking out for the rest of. We're looking. What's going to happen next? Is Josh going to have a low blood sugar moment? Was Josh Is Josh ready for the challenge of hosting the Zone without Jason being there? And if I was like, I don't know, man, I haven't done this in a while, I'm out of practice, you'd be listening for my mistakes, which again, you can do that anyway. It's very easy. They happen all the time. But if in a week I was like, yeah, man, Jason, when you weren't here, I forgot what it was like to host a radio show for 4 hours. By the time I got to hour 4, I was hemming and hawing and huffing and puffing. It's a little easier to be honest about something after the fact once it's like already happened. Yeah, we'll hear that from Thornhill in a second. Josh Gordon said that joining mid-season was, quote, almost an insurmountable task. Like, I know that we joke around about like, hey, Josh Gordon's close. The Chiefs say he's close. Andy Reid says he's close. Whenever he joined the team, he signed with the practice squad, spent a little time there, worked up, got on the active roster, caught a touchdown in a real designed thing. But today he said, hey, I'm comfortable in the chemistry and the playbook now. The playbook is more or less the same, he said, than it was last year. They made some tweaks, but the basics are all still there. Joining into Andy Reid's offense as a rookie is hard. As a first-year in the system vet is hard. It's hard if you have an entire offseason before your time. Josh Gordon was, to continue the theme of this hour, Josh Gordon was hopping on a moving train. He did not have time to stow his luggage or prepare in advance for what he was going to be asked to do. If the Chiefs believe that Josh Gordon, with comfort and knowledge in the system, if they believe that he can be useful in that context, he could still make this team. But it's going to be harder because now he's going up against a bunch of younger guys that have other things. Again, like with Watson or with Coleman or with Fountain. Younger guys that have more positional versatility, particularly on the special team side. He has a tough road to making this roster. And I wonder if he gets cut. Remember, the practice squads are now permanently expanded, which does include spots for veterans. Now, you can still be signed off of the practice squad to another team's 53-man roster. But if the Chiefs do cut Josh Gordon and nobody else tries to bring him into their active roster, which I would assume no one else would try to do if the Chiefs say, hey, we've had him here for a year and a half and we're not that worried about it. If they end up at that spot, I could absolutely see the Chiefs re-adding him once again to their practice squad and saying, hey, if Juju gets hurt, we're calling Josh Gordon up. Even if it's for a game, now you have a veteran receiver with some size who could maybe help you do some of that intermediate stuff. Maybe more so than you would trust Watson or Coleman or Fountain, but those guys can do more for you in the third phase of the game on a week-in, week-out basis. I could see that being the outcome here. And also, I find Josh Gordon very easy to root for. His NFL story, his life story through his career, from the quarterbacks to the addiction to the suspensions. I would love for Josh Gordon to have a career resurgence. He is also a very long time removed from being arguably the most dynamic receiver in football for that 1 year. Really, like a year and a half. It was incredible. It's just been a very long time.
That was almost 10 years ago.
What season was it?
That was 2013. He played 14 games that year, put up 1,600 yards, 1,646. Since then, he has played 5 games, took 2 years off, 5 games, 12.
1,600 yards in 14 games with, I think, Brandon Whedon is absolutely nonsense.
Anyway, he hasn't played much since then.
But right, it's been a very long time.
Part of the thing with him going at not only just Andy Reid's offense, but just he hasn't played in 2 years.
Right.
Outside of last year.
It was Brandon Whedon, Jason Campbell, and Brian Hoyer all started games for the Browns that year. And he caught 1,600 yards on 87 receptions. With some quick math, 9 touchdowns.
117.6 yards per game.
He averaged 117 yards per game, which is just 1 decimal under 19 yards per reception. If you threw the ball to Josh Gordon and he caught it in 2013, if you were Jason Campbell or Brandon Whedon or Brian Hoyer, the average result was an 18.9 yard pickup on average. Unbelievable. Was he was 6th in comeback player of the year voting.
Last year?
No, in his career year.
Oh, okay.
How is he behind Pierre Garçon? Thomas Davis and Darrelle Revis, and Phillip Rivers won it. No Sean Moreno was second. He's too young maybe to be a comeback player. I don't know. Regardless. Just absolutely tremendous. I would love for him to have some sort of resurgence with the Chiefs. I think you have to temper your expectations there. But hearing from him today was really interesting. And again, just kind of putting back into context, joining midseason being, quote, almost an insurmountable task is the type of thing that I'm keeping in mind when we're talking about in a year when we ask Sky Moore, hey, what was it like to be a rookie in Andy Reid's offense? It's going to be hard. Like, difficult is going to be a part of the answer. But that comes with the advantage of rookie mini camps, OTAs, training camp, preseason. It's one of the reasons that I'm excited to see the offensive rookies on Saturday in the first preseason game, because it gives them a chance to jump into the system and make some sort of in-game progress. Where, look, man, if Sky Moore makes 3 big mistakes on Saturday, that won't bother me one iota. What would bother me is if he makes those again in game 2. But that's sort of always the thing now that I think we all kind of keep in our heads. This idea of, yeah, man, you're going to make mistakes. Justin Reed said in a press conference earlier in camp, when I make mistakes, I just want to make them at full speed. I tell these guys, if you're going to make your mistakes, make them at full speed. Then don't do it again. And if that's what the preseason can be for Sky Moore and Isaiah Pacheco and a whole bunch of these rookies especially, that's a great thing. Do not bet on these games. Don't make yourself care about the results. If you want to bet on some, player over-unders in a preseason game, I might tell you how to live your life. It's just challenge. That would be a challenging way to go about your preseason. But also, I guess it's been a long time since we've had football to wager on. So if Isaiah Pacheco over/under total yards or whatever, I guess that would be kind of. I've immediately talked myself into it. Anyway, you can watch the show and interact with the show in a variety of places, a variety of ways. The Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter has live video. You can watch us, see what we look like. Beards occasionally turns the camera on himself. When he does, it looks like this. Ta-da! You have to be watching to get the video joke. So you can interact with the show there as well. It's a good way to make sure your comments and thoughts get seen by us and others. And Beards has a couple Twitch comments on Josh Gordon. Hit me, Beards.
I did. One is from Ronaldo McDonaldo. He says, I've got the Sammy Watkins mentality with Gordon. If he shows out and produces, great. If not, no skin off my back if we're winning. And then the other one, I think this is VF is epic. If we could just put glue on his gloves, I'd feel like he would do a lot better. I feel like the routes are there, just missing a lot of the catches. That does back up. I think I saw on Pro Football Reference, I think his catch rate for the Chiefs last year was like 35%.
Yes, I think that's not
ideal.
Catch rate would come in to defense as well, so I don't know what the drop percentages and everything. Yeah, he wants to look. The Royals could use 35% success rates. That'd be fantastic.
All right, 3-point percentage.
Yeah, even that would be good.
Not catch though.
No, and I think catch percentage is going to be the percentage of times that a target to him was caught. I would actually say, no, I don't. I'm rooting for Josh Gordon. I would like for him to give the Chiefs no excuse to cut him. I would love for him to be on this team.
5 for 14 last year.
That was his stat line last year?
Yes.
And a touchdown.
And a touchdown.
I want him to make this team. I think that would be a very fun story if he forces his way onto this roster, earns his way there, whatever. It seems like there is a drop sort of issue happening at camp right now, and I just don't know that he can get separation at this point. He is not getting the separation from defenders that he was 10 years ago, which makes sense. Nobody over the age of 12 gets more athletic when 10 years go by. 12 to 22, I would hope that maybe you got some muscles. But at a certain point, you don't get faster when you turn 30, I've been told. I don't anticipate getting faster at any point in my life from here on out. I'll be happy if I just don't get significantly slower. I think even that is already a losing battle. But I hope he makes this roster. I would love to see that payoff. I'm just not willing to bet on it. We did get through an entire other hour of this show without getting to the clips that I teased trying to get to from the weekend, but I do think Juan Thornhill and Eric Bieniemy had some interesting things to say this weekend. We'll shift gears a little bit out of Chiefs into Royals with Craig Brown. He'll join us next at the Into the Fountains newsletter. That's on Substack, intothefountains.substack.com. If you want to get a little pre-reading in before the segment arrives, a lot of good things to talk about from yesterday's Royals game, and then maybe we take kind of a look into the future of what the rest of this season and then perhaps even next offseason could entail. Dangerously, I say this timidly, but it's true. I think we might be entering a fun time for the Royals. Lots of wins? I don't know. Fun? Maybe so. We'll talk about that with Craig Brown whenever we come back here in the Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kansas City. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You know, he does it kind of like a dead fish.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Today it's the Zone without Jason Anderson. I'm Joshua Brisco, sliding over from one chair to the other. Still Beards McFly on the other side of the glass, and presumably expect to have the return of Mr. Anderson coming tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Just me and Beards here, though, for the next couple hours with you here. Hopefully you'll stick around. Hopefully Craig Brown didn't hang up upon learning this information. It just hit me that I didn't tell him that Jason wasn't here today, or that I would be the one asking him the questions on this Monday. Hopefully, Craig, you're just in a good enough mood right now, Royals-wise, that even I can't throw you off.
You know what? We're just letting the kids play, right?
That's right.
So it's all good. It's all good. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, no, thank you for making the time. And as we've always and often said, you know, Jason's kind of the Whit Merrifield of this show. And I hope he's enjoying Toronto. I don't know if I was going to make it back. It's just a one-day trip to and from Toronto seems like a lot. But this is Craig Brown of Into the Fountains. You can follow him on Twitter at CraigBrown_KC as well. Of course, read the newsletter, intothefountains.substack.com. Craig, you used one word and a few phrases that really connected with me from the newsletter that went out this morning. That means you're feeling the same things I'm feeling, and oftentimes I know I can be kind of a Royals downer. Like, I'm not patient enough for prospects in baseball. The NFL draft process has totally turned my brain to oatmeal. But whenever I saw you say, hey, this was fun, and I loved the phrase that this weekend the Royals played baseball worth watching, and that just felt like such a breath of fresh air.
Well, hey, that's cool. I appreciate it. I'm glad that we made a connection through the newsletter. And yeah, I mean, it was fun, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, it was generally good baseball. And you're right. You know, I mean, you watch the NFL draft, the NBA draft. You know, I mean, you're looking at guys that you've seen play before at the collegiate level generally, and you know they slot right in and start performing. Baseball, it's different. It takes time, and it takes time at the big league level too. So you know what we saw, you know, Saturday and Sunday. I mean, that's not what we're going to see every weekend or every game. Obviously, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, but these guys, they're having fun. You know, yeah. There's a quality about this team now that feels like, now that certain players have moved on, that we don't really need to talk about anymore. Mm-hmm. There's just kind of it seems like a cloud is lifted. Yeah. And also, you know, the Royals are clearly committed to the young players at this point. They have to be, but these guys are generally ready to play. We've seen it. You know, they're not going to be successful every time out. You know, that's baseball, right? 3 out of 10. You know, that's a really good rate if you're up at bat. You know, you expect to win a few more games than 3 out of 10, obviously. Mm-hmm. But this team it feels like it's on the right path, and it feels like we do have a reason to watch the last couple of months. Instead of a team of veterans kind of playing out the string, you've got a bunch of young guys fighting for spots, fighting to prove that they belong in the big leagues, and it looks like it's setting up for a fun couple of months down the stretch.
Yeah, it really does. And like that's all I was ever asking for from the Royals this year. I was hoping they would get us to training camp. They almost didn't get us to the draft while still kind of feeling like they were still in it all. But now that we're in the back half of the year, anytime they could have lost 13-14 yesterday. MJ Melendez has 6 RBI. I'm gonna say, hey, there's something we can hang our hat on. Now that would have brought a little bit of a cloud back, because it would have probably meant some pretty bad things for Brad Keller or the bullpen. So maybe I'm exaggerating. But like let's start with Melendez, because you've seen everything from the leadoff homer to the effort yesterday. Where are you landing right now on what we've learned about MJ Melendez in his time as a major leaguer so far?
I'm enthusiastic about it. I think that he gives some really good at bats. The strikeout rate might be a little bit up there, but the walk rate is there too. So you'll take the bad with the good. Overall, he's his numbers say that he's an above-average offensive performer. He's flashed a lot of power, which we knew that he had, just based on, his performance last year at the minor league level. But, some of these balls that he's hitting out of the yard, the fact that he's handling that leadoff spot, right? Like when we were all, clamoring for the Royals to bring up these young guys, and, J.J. Piccolo, Dayton Moore, they're all like, we don't want these young guys to feel the burden of having to carry the lineup, right? They can do it. I mean, you're hitting MJ Melendez leadoff, for crying out loud, and he's hitting the ball over the fence. He's starting the game, with homers, or he's coming up with a big hit in the middle of the game. He's driving the ball. At times, again, he may look a bit overmatched at the plate, but again, that's to be expected. He's still, figuring things out. But overall, I think it's a really positive development, the way that he's slotted into the lineup. And the Royals are also throwing things at him too that I think that we have to keep in mind. They're playing him all over the field, right? I mean, he didn't look great in left field this weekend. I think he's looked okay in right, and even behind the plate, though, some of his throws, haven't been, super sharp, what you would like. But he's a guy that with Salvador Perez on the team, he's going to be moving around, rotating positions, playing DH. That's not easy either for a young player. So he's really done quite well with the bat, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, so and then defensively, I mean, you touched on it, but where do you think he slots in long term? Like, if I made you bet where he's going to be playing opening day next year, what's his spot going to be?
I mean, I think that it might ultimately be in right field. With the Royals keeping an eye towards moving him off that position, if that makes any sense. I think that long term it's catcher, but obviously while Salvador Perez is still on the team, that's his spot. It's nice to have Melendez there as a more than capable, basically backup catcher.
Right.
To give Perez the rest. And when Perez isn't catching, he's going to be DH. I think that, going forward, we're going to see a lot of rotation for a lot of these guys because, again, unless they make a move, which, they could ultimately decide to do, to bring in some pitching or something like that. But we've got a lot of first base DH types on this team. A couple of quality catchers. They got to find spots for them. So that includes, guys like Prado, Pasquantino. I feel like there's going to be rotation, going forward. It's just kind of the way that this roster is. And MJ Melendez is a hard worker. I mean, we know this, and I think that he'll adapt to the outfield. I also think that after watching Duran play center field for the Red Sox over the weekend, outfield isn't as easy as some of these guys make it look, and so it's hard to track that fly ball. He's going to get better at it. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Also, on the rookie class front, it's kind of funny watching Bobby Witt Jr. not be the guy for a little bit, which, they talked about this in the broadcast some yesterday. I thought it was a good point. You can't let anybody be the guy that has to carry the weight all the time. And yesterday, it's, doing it with Salvi having an 0-for day from the DH spot and Bobby Witt being pretty quiet until I think real late in the game yesterday. And you've written about his defensive spots, which I want to get there as well. But whenever you have a group suddenly where you're able to look up and down the lineup and find other guys who can step in, I think for me that might be the most encouraging takeaway from this series, to see that kind of gelling together. I guess it started a little bit before the break potentially too as well. But I don't know, am I reading too much into that, or are you willing to say that this team is decently well-rounded with the young guys now?
Yeah, it does feel that way, although I do think, I've got a lot of confidence in Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
So I think eventually, he kind of emerges as the guy, the catalyst in this offense. But, right now it does, there are a lot of quality hitters in this lineup, young quality hitters, and so it can be, any night, if Bobby Witt Jr. scuffling, a Prado, a Pasquantino, Melendez, there's plenty of guys to pick up, the leader on this team. It's not going to be like Royals offenses that we've seen in the past, which we've seen even this season, right, when Salvi was out early on. And the team, I wrote at the time after he came back, which is, again, just miraculous. The guy is just superhuman that he can come back from thumb surgery and be just hitting the crap out of the ball like he is. But, it was no coincidence that just before he came back that the Royals were shut out 3 games in a row, because he truly is like the catalyst for this offense. But these other guys are figuring out, they can help provide the spark. They can kind of carry the team from time to time. So it isn't going to just be on Perez for the rest of the season. It's not going to be just on Witt in the future. This is a collection of guys that can produce, offensively. Man, maybe I'm looking at it through, the royal blue colored glasses, but it just really feels like, we are on the cusp of an offense that, in a year or two is going to be, a really solid. I don't want to get carried away. Let's just say an above-average major league offense, which is not something that we've seen a lot of in Kansas City. So that's going to be a really exciting thing.
Yeah, I think at this point with the baseball that we have spent the last several years watching, if anybody's like, I just don't want to get too excited about all these young guys who all look really good at the same time, I feel like that maybe you've lost the joy of baseball. Like you can enjoy it a little.
Oh yeah, get excited. I mean, people were have commented to me on Twitter or at the newsletter saying, that hey, they've cashed out, they've moved on. Chiefs season's coming up. All that sort of stuff. And, I mean, hey, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell anybody how to fan, but, I mean, you watch and, there's going to be games that you're going to be disappointed, but there's also, some excitement. And the cool thing about that excitement is it's not a guy like a Benintendi who is, was clearly on his way out, either via trade or free agency. But these are guys that are going to be here for, several years. We are watching the nucleus of future Royals teams kind of form, which it's really exciting. It takes you back to 2011 when Hosmer and Moustakas and those guys were just coming up. Perez too. You saw it at that time. It took obviously 3 years to work. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. But again, we're seeing movement. We're seeing progress, and for a team that was on pace for 100 losses early in the season, that's all you can ask for at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't. Who knows what if we're going to look back in 2 or 3 years and go, "Woof, this was not even close to the Hosmer Mustak." Maybe we will realize that in the future. But right now, we're going to be watching these guys play baseball for the next several years. And if you cared about the Royals in April, you ought to check back in now. I think it's a little more fun. One of the other young guys I wanted to mention specifically because of the walk-off is Nick Pratto. I think he has one more base hit than he does walk on the year now, which is he's going to have one of the more unique stat lines in the second half of the season. I think he's fascinating to me. He had an incredible moment there. The Royals, in terms of like plate discipline amongst these young guys, obviously is a very fun conversation too. But what have you seen from Pratto? What did you think when he had the walk-off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was just a thrilling moment, for that to happen. Especially, Whitlock had shut the Royals down. He had retired 8 in a row coming out of the bullpen. Works Pratto to 3-2, and I wrote about it today at Into the Fountains. And Pratto it's almost 50% of the time he's walking or striking out. The strikeout rate is a little high, but we knew that we were going to get that with him. But we're also getting, some really solid plate discipline where, as you said, he's got 10 walks, he's got 11 hits. Okay, that's something that we haven't seen from a Royals player, hardly ever. Okay. So when the count's 3-2, you're thinking, okay, it's a walk or a strikeout. This is what generally happens. So for him to, take that pitch that was kind of, veering to the outer half and to muscle it over, basically the center field wall, that's a hell of an at bat. It's a great result. It's a pressure situation that where he comes through. A fantastic moment, a signature moment, in the season, because that game was a back and forth game. It was anybody's game at that point. It really was. And for him to step up, it's just a huge moment. And then to see the way that the guys rally around, in that moment too, was really something to see. It, again, takes you back, to the championship teams, and Prado is a guy, he's going to strike out, but he does have really, really strong plate discipline, a fantastic knowledge of the strike zone. It hasn't worked out, at the beginning because, again, he needs that period of adjustment, I feel, to, kind of get used to the major league umpires, to see some major league pitching. And, once he gets locked in on that zone up here, I think he's, going to be fine. So, again, just a really positive result. A fantastic moment in a season that's, been kind of a struggle.
And also, just the absolute point of the rest of this season is just, hey, just see if all these guys look more comfortable in these various spots they need to get more comfortable in, the rest of this season is an unequivocal success. Like, I would take that
absolutely
100% of the time. One place that I did not expect to have to talk about getting more comfortable in is Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop. That's something else you wrote about in today's newsletter. Again, intothefountains.substack.com if you want to read that there. Can you walk me through a little bit of your underwhelmed current nature on Bobby Witt at short and what the Royals' options might be?
Yeah, it seems like he's, struggling with some of the more, routine aspects. The dude is a fantastic athlete. Mm-hmm. He can make, the highlight reel play. We've seen it. Some of these jump throws that he's made going into the hole. Just he is capable of, let's just say, extreme highlight, plays. But then there's just, some other stuff. The error that he made, I kind of felt like, a major league shortstop should, be fielding. Overall, the metrics, and I know that people will turn up their nose at metrics, and I get it, defensively. They're far from perfect. But when you talk about defensive runs saved, he's last in baseball among shortstops, and by a wide margin. So when I look at that sort of stuff, it's like, I'm not trying to figure out, how they reach it. Like, he's minus 16 right now, which is, not a great number. It's really quite bad. Instead of trying to figure out, how in the world is he minus 16? I look at it in relation to, other guys on the list, and to see that there's just one other shortstop that is worse than minus 7 right now, and defensive run saved. That says a lot. That he's really scuffling. And then you look at outs above average, which is a stat, at Baseball Savant. He's not the worst there, but he's third worst. So again, these metrics are pretty consistent in saying that really he needs to be better. So when the Royals opened the season with him at third, I thought, long term his position shortstop. He's earned raves coming up through the minor leagues with his ability to play the position. So I wasn't really sold on the Royals moving him off to begin with, but then I kind of, reached an understanding, right? It's like, hey, they're taking a little bit of pressure off of him, at short. It's an important position. You move him onto the third, more of a reaction position, which, again, Lord knows he can play. So, I came to see it as, okay, maybe they're taking a little bit of pressure off of him defensively. It was working. Then, of course, he moves back over to short after, the Mondesi injury and all that sort of stuff. But I just wonder if the Royals wouldn't be better served, having Nicky at short. Which, again, last year, we saw, he can absolutely play that position. Having Witt, just kind of take a little bit of the pressure off. Back over at third, keep working at short, but, hey, this is kind of a short-term thing, and then, see how it works, next season, or as he gets a little more comfortable at the big league level. I'm sure that his comfort level is fine right now, but just something's not working. So, maybe move him off the position for a little bit, try it again later on down the road, see how that goes. At least the guy has the bat. The bat will play at any position. The bat will carry him. So if it means he has to move to third, that's fine, because I really think that he can end up being a plus defender at third, too.
Would that leave Lopez then as a long-term answer at short then defensively?
I mean, I wonder about that, but again, like I was saying, I would try to move Witt back over there.
Sure.
I think Nicky's looked a lot better of late, offensively, and you're not asking him to do a lot.
Sure.
So I think that he's a guy that is useful to have in the lineup. And can kind of serve as that catalyst down towards the bottom of the order. So, I'm not averse to that, but, again, when you've got a shortstop that's struggling as much with the glove as Witt seems to be right now, it just makes some sense, at least short term, to move him off that spot.
Well, let's talk about the pitching a little bit, because I think a lot of the young bats are fun to talk about. I think a lot of the young arms are, trending in a positive direction as of late, but still make me more nervous than they do excited. That might be, a trust issue that I have. But starting with Brady Singer over the last few outings, I'm sure. We've talked about him now a few times, but the larger the sample size gets, the more interested I've become in what is sustainable there. And then so last week, he has his worst outing in a while, which was also interrupted with the rain delay and everything. I would be willing to shrug off a little bit of that. He still got through the 6 innings, got hit a ton, gave up the 4, and again, not an outing I'm sure he was happy with, but a strange one nonetheless, and then 2 excellent ones before that. Specifically to Singer, where are you right now in terms of how much you're buying the highs, where the lows might actually be, and if your view on him has changed at all in these last couple weeks?
Yeah, it's definitely changed, because I was pretty low on him, as a group of starters, So, yeah, what we saw from him at the end of July was, absolutely fantastic. Really, he's done really well since he came back and, has rejoined the rotation, coming back from Omaha earlier this year. The outing on, last week, you're right. The rain was one thing. He was giving up a ton of hits. What I really liked about it was that he battled through the adversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Singer from last year would have crumbled.
Yeah.
And wouldn't have been able to get through that. And, really, and the damage came on an Abreu home run, right? He gave up 4 runs, but 3 of them were on that home run.
Good point.
Of course, if a ball left the yard, it was going to probably score multiple runs because he had traffic on bases all day.
True, yeah.
But, the pitch wasn't even, if I'm remembering right, wasn't even really that bad of a pitch for him. Abreu just went out and, went opposite field, muscling it over the fence. I think, you're not going to strike out, double digits every time out. You're not going to pitch into the 7th every time out, giving up just 1 hit. You're going to have games where you don't have your best, which is something that we've heard from Singer a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in 2021, it was like, hey, Brady, you got hit pretty hard. Well, my slider wasn't working, my sinker I couldn't locate, and, rough day. And that was kind of the case, here, last week, but he was able to work around it. The funny thing about that one was the little comebacker that came to him. Where he had to break towards the third base side, field it, and throw. It was a throw that he shouldn't have made, right? It was a bad decision, but he actually hit the target, which again, these little things that I'm looking at. That was to me that was a big deal. That was a dangerous moment. Last year he throws the ball away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this year he threw a strike to first. And again, an ill-advised throw, but hey, we're making progress here. He threw a strike. So it's just he's a different pitcher this year. He's a different guy. He's working with tempo. He's confident. And I think that's kind of what's propelled him so far this season. So a bumpy outing against the division rival, it's going to happen. And again, the fact that he got through 6, gave up just 4, that's a positive for me.
Yeah. Anybody else right now have anything that has changed your view on them pitching-wise over these last couple of weeks? I think for better or for worse, you could probably pick from a few. But looking at Lynch and Bubic in particular, do you feel like you have a read on what they are yet, or is that still evolving?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's still evolving. But I was going to mention Bubic. I think that he's shown a lot, and expectations for him, at least as far as I'm concerned, have been kind of low. Seeing him as a back of the rotation guy, that ultimately may be his destiny on this team. But I mean, he's showing that he's more than capable of stringing together a run of really good starts. Not going to strike out a lot of guys, but he's we've seen him work up in the mid 90s. With the fastball that we hadn't seen, previously. The command is there. He'll keep the ball in the yard. Really been impressed with the way that he's worked of late. Lynch has always been my favorite of that class of 18 as quote unquote the guy. I really think that in 4 years' time, when we're looking back at all these arms that the Royals have run through here, I think that Lynch will probably be, the best of the bunch. And he's, again, taken some steps forward. It looks like he may have to fight Brady Singer for that, which is a great thing for this team to have. So yeah, for me, it's Bubic, that I'm really impressed with, what he's done over the last, several starts that he's had. Lynch remains a guy, definitely in that, equation. So now they got to get a couple of the other arms, firing to fill out the rest of that rotation. But it's a nice foundation. That it's looking like, from those three starters that we're talking about. Again, reason for some cautious optimism. The pitching, it's a little riskier. I mean, that's just the nature of pitching. And, of course, the Royals' track record developing pitchers, not great, So they deserve the skepticism until, we see, consistent quality results. But, again, looking at it, big picture, definitely looks and feels like they're onto something, moving in the right direction.
Last thing that you wrote about briefly, and we've mentioned his name already, talking about what it was like back in 2011, 12, 13, etc. But I was interested if you felt some nostalgia, or if anything bubbled up from the past when Eric Hosmer spent some time in Kauffman this weekend.
It was fun to see him back there. Those teams that were just. Obviously, for me, for you, for everybody listening, an absolute highlight. 14 and 15. So it's nice to see him come back. And he hit the ball hard a couple of times. Didn't do horrific damage to the Royals, which is a good thing.
Yes, ideal.
But so it's fun to see these guys come back. And there's not a lot of Royals from that team from that era who are still playing.
Yeah.
Which time marches on, man. It's the life of an athlete. It's crazy. So the Royals at least have Salvi back there, hanging around from the team. So it's nice when those guys come back and get to take another ovation, and you've got that moment. And I wrote about it a little bit in the newsletter. It was fun for that nostalgic moment, and then the kids took hold and reminded everybody that the past was fun. It was a great time. But now the Royals, it's about the future, and it's about the young arms, the young bats, and trying to do it again. That's kind of the blueprint that we're looking at. They're trying to get back. It's taken a little bit too long for everybody, absolutely. But again, it just felt like, hey, after this weekend, it's about the future, and it's about being on that right path.
You can read about that future, the path the Royals are on, if they stay on the right one or not, all in Into the Fountains. That's intothefountains.substack.com. You can follow Craig on Twitter at CraigBrown_KC. Craig, appreciate your insight all the way through the season to this point. We'll chat again soon.
Hey, sounds good. Thanks a lot for having me on. Enjoyed it.
That's Craig Brown. I think you say enjoyed it more than talking to Jason. That's what I heard. That's what I heard from me. Again, check out the newsletter. Beards, I hit the wrong button. You put me in charge. What happened there? I hung up on Craig. Sorry, Craig. I was trying to put him back on hold so you could talk to him, and then I hit the hang up button. It's been a minute since I've had to use the phone buttons. I'm out of practice. Sometimes you gotta let the kids play. They're gonna make some mistakes, you know? That was a strikeout. I hung up on Craig before I meant to. So I'll tell you one more time. intothefountains.substack.com to get his work on Twitter at CraigBrown_KC. I'm Joshua Brisco alongside Beards McFly. 2/3 of the zone still with you, even though it is the zone without Jason Anderson for the time being. We'll go back to some Chiefs with Ryan Tracy at 1. Some more Chiefs all throughout. I got a few more Royals thoughts as well. Who knows what's next here in the zone?
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. In the Zone.
I am a radio-doing machine at this point, where the only flaw is really my personality and technique and interests.
With Jason Anderson.
But the technical aspect of it, I got it down.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Craig Brown of Into the Fountains for joining us, as he has done so many days over the course of the Zone. Not always with me, most of them without me being here. I'm Joshua Brisco, a recent addition, co-hosting the Zone with Jason Anderson. Jason, though, out today, so I'm in the big chair. Beards McFly still on the other side of the glass. So both of us, 2/3 of the Zone, with you here today. Jason should be back tomorrow, and we'll continue to do all the things that we do around here, which also includes giving away more tickets. Beards, I need to come up with another way we can give away some more tickets this segment. I think we might even take an early break, so we make sure you got plenty of time to give some more tickets away. And Beards, are you wondering what these tickets are even to?
No, not really.
Well, I wonder if the audience is, though.
Probably not.
Do you want to ask me what these tickets are to? Here, just read this card where I wrote, "Hey, Josh, what are these tickets for?" Just read this note card.
Hey, Josh, what are those tickets for?
Beards, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you so very much for asking. Thank you, dear listeners, for wondering about what these tickets are for. They are for Thursday night, as we are going to have the 100-year celebration of WHB. That's us. Those are our call letters now. Obviously, Sports Radio 810 WHB is a portion of those 100 years, a big and important portion, but just a portion going back to, we've got some, you may have heard the promos that were running for a while about the celebration of, old, crackly, old-timey radio. WHB, like every single thing that you would imagine coming through old-timey radio broadcast. WHB has been around for a whole lot longer than all of us. And we're going to celebrate 100 years of that Thursday night at the Midland. An absolutely bonkers list of guests. And we're giving away tickets totally free to you, the listener. So if you want to join us on Thursday night, please make sure you'll be able to be there and enjoy all the festivities. You can call in. Not right now. Phones are blocked off right now. We're going to come up with something some way to give some more away. We're giving away a bunch today, and probably going to continue to do that tomorrow as well. So lots more chances to win tickets to Thursday night's 100 years of WHB celebration. We'll do some of that here. Probably the end of this segment as well. Just need to come up with a way to do it. How did the uniform number thing work on your end, Beards? We already covered that nobody said Chase Daniel, which was shocking to me. But other than that, how did that process work? Did you have any losers that you had to hang up on?
I had a couple of people that had called in. They were just like, "Oh, hey, did I win?" And I'm like, "Well, only if you tell me the number of the they called too early. They didn't know what we were doing there."
Sometimes listening closely is important. All right. Do you want to decide one for the end of the break? You want to come up with some sort of basketball adjacent thing? Name an active member of the Boston Celtics, or I don't know how you can. You think about it. I'm going to give a Royals take. You think about that, and that's going to be your responsibility whenever we're trying to give away some tickets here in a little bit.
All right, thank you.
You get to give the title of one Game of Thrones book. I don't know that I would have one guess. And I don't know that I would be able to be that confident about it.
Well, it's not that, but so give me your guess.
You're not going to do that? You don't want to do that one? A Story of Ice and Fire.
Nope.
Is that not one?
No.
Game of Thrones, A Story of Ice and Fire.
The series is called A Song of Ice and Fire.
A Song of Ice and Fire.
The first book is called A Game of Thrones.
A Game of Thrones?
Yes.
I would have gotten that wrong, too. I thought the first one was called Game of Thrones, Story of Ice and Fire.
No.
But it's song.
Yes.
And I was wrong anyway.
Yes. No tickets for you.
I get it. That's why it's a game. Games have winners and losers. I was a loser of this game. By being a loser of this game, am I really the winner? I think I might be. First 500 callers to call in and then just give Beards a 3-minute-long monologue about how terrible the last season of Game of Thrones, the TV show, was. All of you get
blocked.
Just call in and complain about Game of Thrones to Beards and Cyberpunk. Tell Beards that everything he loves is terrible, and I'll give you tickets. I'll bring them to your house. I will drop them off in your mailbox. None of that's true. Don't call in yet. We'll give some more tickets away over the course of the show. Beards, come up with a good idea. Here's my here's my little quick Royals take to piggyback off the conversation we just had with Craig. I was doing Sunday Sound Off last night on KSHB 41, and part of the conversation was, hey, who is the cornerstone of this young group of players? What is the future looking like with that in mind? And look, the answer is still Bobby Witt Jr. If he is not the engine of this team going forward, fairly or unfairly, something will have gone wrong. Like that, there is not a way for Bobby Witt Jr. to not be the crux of this team. Unless, I guess, MJ Melendez just ends up being a perennial, a future, Royals Hall of Famer at minimum. The expectations on Bobby Witt are incredibly high, but they are earned, and he is going to have the highest ceiling out of this group. If he doesn't achieve that, who's to say what happens? But he has the highest ceiling still. Okay. That, I think, is relatively straightforward. The thing from yesterday, and the thing that MJ Melendez was able to be the guy for yesterday, and that you've seen it from Prado, you've seen it from Pasquantino, you've got Michael Massey in the mix. Like this is, we're talking about Drew Waters and like what he could bring. We've got names and dudes throughout this organization right now that you can be excited about. And if you think, hey, the only thing that the Royals need is for Bobby Witt to hit that ceiling, Bobby Witt's ceiling is tremendously high. But he alone will not be enough. Have you talked to a Los Angeles Angels fan recently? Follow-up question. Have you ever met a Los Angeles Angels fan? If you have met one, and if you have talked to one recently, I'm guessing they don't behave like people that have two of the 5 best players in baseball. And it might be a smaller number than 5, and it might be something even more bonkers like 2 of the best players in baseball history. They have one of the best hitters that the sport has ever seen, and maybe literally the most dynamic player the sport has ever seen. We need to come up with what the phrasing needs to be on Shohei Ohtani, just because like he would be an all-star as a pitcher or a hitter, and he is both. I don't think there is a way to be too hyperbolic about how fascinating and incredible Ohtani is. Anyway, they've got 2 of those guys, and they stink. They're not good. They're not interesting. And they have 2 aliens playing for them, and they can't figure it out. Now, look, the Royals are a long way away from having Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. So much of this is still going to depend on the pitching. But you have to have a supporting cast, a legitimate supporting cast. And in this case, it can be young guys that are getting called up around the same time. Now, what's going to happen when all of those contracts come up? That's a problem for future John Sherman. Right now, present John Sherman should be excited about what he's got. But you cannot do it alone in baseball. And that is something that I think you should take and should want to take with you from what you saw yesterday.
I was going to say, you say the Royals aren't quite there with the Angels yet. They're almost caught them in the playoff race.
So, team-wise,
they are 44-65 of the Royals. The Angels are 46-63. However, the Royals are only 13.5 games behind for the division, whereas the Angels are 23.5 behind.
Let me just check again. Hold on. I'm going to Google something. Hold on. One of those teams has Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout on it. Google just confirmed. I Googled, do the Angels still have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and still are bad? And it said yes. They're 5 games up on the A's in their own division. They have 2 of the most fascinating players in baseball history. And they can't. It's useless. It's brought them nothing.
Don't look at the run differential, though. The Royals are still really bad in that one.
I actually was going to look at run differential.
Negative 37 for the Angels. Royals are a minus 122.
Whoa! That is significantly worse.
That's second worst in the American League.
Anyway, It's got to be a team effort. Baseball's got too many players, and too many guys can only do one thing at a time. You only have one guy batting at a time. You can't. When you have LeBron on the floor, it makes everybody else's job a little easier. You can have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but you just have 7 other guys in that lineup that need to hit a baseball. And then several guys need to be able to throw it without letting their opponents hit that baseball a very far away. So there's a lot to be excited about with the Royals right now, and for that alone to be true feels like kind of a win. Speaking of winning, let's give some tickets away. Beards, what is the mechanic going to be? Again, these are tickets to Thursday night, that's the 11th, Thursday night at the Midland 100-year celebration of WHB. It's going to be a blast. Our guest list is ridiculous, and you can get on that guest list as well. Get your tickets. They'll be here at the station. Come pick them up. Take them with you to the Midland. We'll see you on Thursday. Let's give away... We can give away 3 or 4 tickets here. Beards, you're showing me we can give away 10 pairs today. We've only given away 3.
We've given away more than 3 because I've done some online as well.
Oh, great. Okay, well, let's give away 3 more. Let's do that.
I don't have time to do 3 in the break. I can do 2 in the break. And then we can do more next hour.
Specifically for this question of Beards, we'll keep giving more tickets away throughout the day. We'll give away 2 pairs right now. Beards, what do they have to do to win? By calling 913-381-810-810. And...
Don't call yet because phone's still
Don't call yet. What and what?
So, I'm going to keep it the same.
The same what?
Same format as you had it.
Okay.
There's no more Tyrann Mathieu now.
Okay.
So, Chiefs at war number 32, excluding Marcus Allen, because that one's kind of easy as well.
Do you want it to exclude the person who's wearing 32 this year, currently, who has not yet played a game in 32?
Yes.
Because Nick Bolton has switched to 32.
That is true.
So not Marcus Allen, not Tyrann Mathieu,
not
Nick Bolton. Call in 913-381-810 and tell Beards McFly, a Chiefs player who has worn number 32 at any other point in Chiefs history, and win yourself a pair of tickets to the 100-year anniversary event coming up on Thursday.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health. Guys, Viagra is not the answer for your problem. I know you think it is, but Viagra has horrible side effects, and for most men, the longer you're on it, the less it works. Viagra is not a curative medication. It's not fixing your problem. It's a Band-Aid for a shark bite. Acoustic wave therapy is the newest technology that can correct your problem, not just treat it. We can do something that no pill can do. We can restore your blood flow naturally. Get off Viagra today. Change your life like the thousands of men who already have, regardless of your age or your medical history. If you're tired of dealing with Peyronie's disease or erectile dysfunction, then call West Coast Men's Health today.
Call 913-243-3200. That's 913-243-3200. 913-243-3200. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
Hey, it's Bob with Culligan Water. After doing hundreds of water tests in the Kansas City area, I noticed a pattern. So I've developed water treatment packages that specifically target water issues we face here locally. All of my packages include 2 years of free service and maintenance. Contact me, Bob, at CulliganKansasCity.com/Bob. That's CulliganKansasCity.com/Bob. Let's talk about how to better your water. When you think of better water, think of Bob with Culligan Water.
Play Summer Heat Pick and Win all through August for chances to win your share of up to $100,000 in lucky loot. Come by 7th Street Casino and play Summer Heat Pick and Win all through August. You could be a big winner. 7th Street Casino, located in Kansas City's historic downtown district. Win bigger at 7th Street Casino, Kansas City's only 24/7 all-slot casino. 7th Street Casino in the heart of downtown KCK.
Man, I slept.
New ZzzQuil Pure Z's Restorative Herbal Sleep is made for people who are tired of being tired.
I've never slept like this before. I've never woken up like this before.
A melatonin-free sleep aid made with a botanical blend that contains clinically studied and effective valerian root, hops, and passion flower, shown to help promote better restorative sleep. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Restorative Herbal Sleep. Sleep this good, feel this good. Available at retailers near you.
Jayhawk fans, season tickets for the 2022 Kansas football season are on sale for as low as $185. We need you in the booth waving the wheat this fall and supporting Coach Leipold and the Jayhawks. Get your tickets now at kuathletics.com/tickets or by calling 800-34-HAWKS. Touchdown, Jayhawks.
The Bolton Auto Group is an automotive source for dozens of reasons. 3 great dealerships provide everything you need.
We have over 500 vehicles, virtually anything you would want. Ford, Honda, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, and more.
We also service all makes and models. All maintenance and parts, all bodywork and detailing, we keep your vehicle looking like new.
We are the oldest, largest family-owned auto group in Kansas City. Almost 50 years of service to over 1 million customers.
Come to Blue Springs Ford.
Come see it all at Lee Summit Subaru.
Lee Summit Honda, where we treat you like family.
Thank you, Kansas City. Hi, folks. Bob at Blue Springs Ford. Hey, Blaine, let's talk about 2023 Fords.
Dad, 2023 Fords are now available to order. Yes, they're coming. You can custom order. Plus, we're not hiking up prices like other dealers. Lock in our lowest price and lowest interest rate.
If the prices or interest rate go up, you don't care because you're locked in. Plus, you're getting a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Come to Blue Springs Ford or go to bluespringsford.com because if you don't come see us today,
we can't save you any money.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
If I can't be here to try to get you on a technicality once per show, what the bleep is the point of me being here?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It is The Zone. There is no Jason Anderson today. He'll be back tomorrow. I'm Joshua Brisco, moving over from the little chair to the big chair. I think these chairs are exactly the same size, but, you know, metaphorically speaking. Beard still in the chair that's just right. It's like Goldilocks. Is that right? Did I get that reference right?
You got it. You're good.
I suddenly couldn't think of the phrase Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I don't know what happened there. Still thinking about Bullet Train. It's the only media I've been able to retain for the last several days. We got our winners on the Chiefs who wore number 32 before Tyrann Mathieu, but not including Marcus Allen. That one's a little bit of a layup. I looking at this list here now, I know what my answer would have been, I think. What were our winners, Beards?
First winner was for Curtis McClinton.
Okay.
A little farther back. And then
Yes.
the one that I was expecting, the second guy got, and that was Spencer Ware.
Spencer Ware would have been mine. We also would have accepted. I love this bit as a way for people to win tickets because it makes you listen a little bit. You have to do a little thing to win them. You know, that's fun. But also it lets us remember some dudes.
Like Cyrus Gray.
Cyrus Gray and Sean Drone. I maintain that if his name was pronounced Sean Drone, or Sean Drone, he would still be in the league right now. And then Marcus, is that Allen? Is he also a running back? What did he do? Dixon, and then Jack Johnson. That's crazy. I saw him in here a little bit ago. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for my joke about our friend Jack Johnson. You can hear over on ESPN Kansas City, ESPN Wichita, and now sometimes nights over here on 810. He'll be on after the preseason game on Saturday, actually. So looking forward to hearing Jack do a little preseason post-game. And then when the regular season comes back around, I will grab him and throw him off the balcony to reclaim my throne for the preseason. It'd be nice to have Jack on the he'll be in the big chair, which is again the same size as all the other chairs around here. We are, of course, not going to have time to get to all the audio that I thought we would eventually get to. Perhaps after we talk to our friend Ryan Tracy. He's of RGR Football, the Locked On Chiefs podcast, does some incredible work on like every way, shape, and form you could look at the Chiefs. Ryan's been doing it for a long time. An incredibly high level. We'll talk to him about some of our training camp expectations, storylines, things we've learned so far, what he'll be looking forward to in the preseason, and what the expectations are for some of these young guys. I also continue to be very interested specifically in this running back rotation. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is clearly the guy here, I believe, but he's up first. What happens next? Ronald Jones seemed like he could be the guy that would be RB2, but can he catch passes? I don't know. Eric Bieniemy talked about that. We will maybe get that audio sometime in the 1 o'clock hour, but I know better than to make promises I can't keep. Isaiah Pacheco getting all the hype as a rookie, 7th-round pick. He's getting work on special teams, looking good in the team situations as well. They also brought back Jerick McKinnon. Derek Gore had a nice year last year when he got on the field. Part of that is the nature of the position. Part of it is the guys the Chiefs actually have. We'll talk about that and a lot more with Ryan Tracy whenever we come back here in the Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
WHB's
It's The Zone here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Typically The Zone with Jason Anderson. He is not here today. I am Joshua Brisco, moving over from the little chair to the big chair. Again, as previously discussed, all the chairs are the same size. But metaphorically speaking, it's the big chair. Beards McFly on the other side of the glass, now joined by our friend Ryan Tracy of, well, kind of everything. The Locked On Chiefs podcast, Rogue Analytics, RGR Football, and a ton of incredible video content, including a weekly sesh with our friend Seth Kaiser up on the YouTube channel as well. Ryan, I know that I've left something out that you've already probably spent some portion of your day working on. I appreciate you adding us to the rotation for a little bit today.
Thanks for having me, metaphorically or otherwise.
Look, it's metaphorically a big chair. It's metaphorically light outside. I don't know how many times you and I have done a radio show when the sun was up. So I'm just want to make sure you're comfortable right now.
Oh, I'm good. There's not enough hours in the day that I can work, but I'm just making sure that you're all right.
So far, it's good. You know, having to be at work before a 10 o'clock show has really, 10 a.m., it might as well be 4. So, I'm barely just dragging myself in by the time most people are having lunch. But I'm getting used to the schedule, and it's all been good so far.
Life changes, Josh. Life changes.
Really, that's right. I'm growing up and setting an alarm in the morning again. So on the note, Ryan, of changes, how quickly things change. You look at the Chiefs wide receiver room, and it's almost too easy of a segue. But we really have had an offseason of changes for the Chiefs. We are now also in a week that has a preseason game, and I don't think it is silly to look forward to preseason action, particularly this year. That's not always true, but I have like a short laundry list of guys that I'm excited to see actually take the field on Saturday. How are you feeling now that we're just a handful of days away from a sort of real game?
I'm just impressed you have a short list. I have half the roster.
Yeah, fair.
It's exciting. It is. You're absolutely right. For the first time in a couple of years, there's multiple positions that are not only in question but have exciting talent there. Not just the hope that somebody's going to step up, but real expectation that this could be a change at the position that goes forward and help the Chiefs in the future.
Yeah, so where do you look first and foremost? If you're taking some of the training camp hype into guys that you might see get some significant playing time on Saturday, who leads that list for you? Is there somebody who's number one with a bullet?
Yeah, it always is, because when you're the first pick of a draft, it comes with that expectation. And maybe not the hype. I'm not so much of a hype machine, because I like to actually see what the coaches are seeing. And Trent McDuffie, it's been quiet until maybe the last few days in terms of the rhetoric.
Yeah.
But he's quietly put in this kind of workmanlike attitude, a guy that's going to be on the field as much as any rookie out there that actually has impact. And I'm rather excited for it. It's a transition for him, but it sounds like he's making quick work of his new role in the NFL.
Well, you're right. There was actually, we had a Twitch comment or a text earlier of somebody saying like, hey, I haven't heard anything about Trent McDuffie. And it's funny because I think sometimes you get a quiet camp from certain people, and that's the best possible thing. No news is good news. But a lot of times with the rookies, you're right. You do see some hype roll in, even if that's not a good way to evaluate. So how are you reading into what we haven't heard from him so far? And then also, we talked about him before and after the draft, I think. But what it is in particular that you're looking for from him that he can show against the Bears?
I think what I'm really intrigued by is the fact that he's making this transition. At Washington, he played, I think, just under 83% of his college snaps were all in zone. And what Steve Spagnuolo had to say the other day about how he's learning the techniques in man and embracing them and coming along, the fact that the only time we see him get beat consistently is when he's up against a receiver that has a lot of a size advantage, which was the known quantity coming in about Trent in the draft. That says that he's locking down everything else that they're trying to teach him and trying to make that transition. And that means, just like L'Jarius a couple years ago, he's to the point where he can step on the field as a rookie and be productive with whatever the known limitation is, and work on building that and strengthening that. So in the end, a season or two from now, he should be really well-rounded. He should be a 1-2 punch with Snead there, who I think had a pretty good morning today as well.
Well, and if I stretch that to the same position in the rookie class, Joshua Williams started working in almost immediately with the ones, partially, because Rashad Fenton's still working back from the shoulder surgery, and Andy Reid said he's making progress. Who's to say exactly what that means? But you talk about a transition, from Fayetteville State to pretty much day one or day two of full team training camp, and I am very intrigued by what the Chiefs think they can get out of Josh Williams right out of the gate here. I think at this point, this coaching staff's probably earned the benefit of the doubt with young corners, I would think.
I think you have to give him that as well. And it very much harkens back to Snead as well. Another fourth-round pick that came in with some expectations, but not a lot on his shoulders, was expecting the transition to be maybe a lot longer than it ended up being. I think that's great. I love the fact that they jumped him in the fire. Quite frankly, for Josh Williams, the best thing that happened to him this preseason is that Rashad Fenton had to have surgery.
Yeah.
Because he's gotten that opportunity to show what he can do.
Yeah.
I think that's going to earn him reps down the line. Now, when Fenton's back, Josh is not going to be running with the ones anymore, and that's okay. But I think that exposure allows him to play a role later in the season when there's either injury at that position or there's attrition that in general makes you have to start rotating more, not playing 70, 80, 90% of the snaps with your starters. I think that's going to pay off in the playoff run as well. And just like last year's class, there's going to be, I think, 3 or 4 rookies that really make an impact on this season and its outcome.
I agree 100%, and I also think that is such a fascinating, different thing now for Steve Spagnuolo to deal with, because what's the thing we've talked about around Spags more than him sort of favoring the veteran who knows the playbook, right? That there are all the different elements that come into that, and now we're talking about McDuffie, Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Leo Chenal, Josh Williams. Like, we can go deep just into the rookie class of guys who I think we all expect to have some sort of role to play. What are you expecting to see from that learning curve? And how full Steve Spagnuolo's hands might be right now in having to build this defense a little differently?
I think that's going to be the most intriguing part. And I think this first preseason week is going to be a lot of experimentation, feeling out who can do what. It's great to have all this practice time. And the way that they structured the padded practices back-to-back to give you a little bit more of game feel, I like that kind of concept. But in the end, until you're playing another team, I don't think Spags has what he has. What he wants in terms of information. So where do they start? I think will be different than where they finish. So for Karlaftis, does he rush solely from the edge in this first preseason game? Or are they already rotating him down inside so that he, Carlos, and Frank can all be on the field together? I'm really intrigued by that concept. And they kind of hinted at it the whole time. But what does that look like in week 1 of the preseason versus week 1 of the regular season? And then Leo Chenal. Is Steve really going to change his whole concept and abandon the nickel blitzes and just send Leo when you want a fifth pass rusher? Because I'm here for that all day long.
Yeah. Tell me how you think that works especially if you're an opposing offensive coordinator, because as soon as you see Chenal on the field, I think you at that point have to assume he's coming your direction and at least not moving backwards, at least until he can prove that he can do that at the NFL level, which right now they don't really have any evidence for. So how do you walk that line if you're trying to weaponize Leo Chenal, but then if you're an opposing offensive coordinator that wants to try to pick on him, how's that chess game going to work?
I think if you're Steve Spagnuolo, you don't even show him in the preseason trying to play backward. Just show him coming downhill, because that's the expectation that's already built in. Go ahead and reinforce that for every defensive coordinator you're going to see in the first half of the season, and just let them keep thinking that. And then when you get there, practice it up, especially once camp breaks and you're a little bit more behind closed doors. Then work on getting him into some of those shallow hooks so you can build zones around where he has to be, and then you have that X factor. I think some replacements are going to be able to be done, zone blitz types of things where he can actually back out and get some surprise looks at different passing lanes where I think the pressure will overwhelm. I look for a lot of overload blitzing if he's not coming when he's on the field, and I think that's something that Spags is really going to enjoy trying to be deceptive about.
It has to be just a very fun, I imagine it's stressful, but also a very fun time for Spags, because we are talking about, like, players with these specific sets of skills. Where I have spent precious little time talking about Brian Cook since minicamp. He looked good in minicamp. He looked good at the beginning of training camp when they worked him in. And then he and McDuffie might be two of those guys that we've talked about the least. And I have to imagine that there are plans in place for Brian Cook as well.
Oh, I hate to tell you, since the day he was drafted, Brian Cook is the X factor in this defense.
Tell me about it.
He's going to be able to do everything. Every problem that you've seen over the last 3 years with either linebackers or safeties being able to turn and run with tight ends, that's over. Brian Cook can run with anybody. Timed in the mid-4.3s as a safety. And it's just because the pre-draft process didn't go exactly smoothly for him that it didn't get really mentioned. He can play with power. He can come down. He's extremely intelligent, and he's diligent. Some of the guys that he played with at Cincinnati credit him with organizing not just the secondary that ended up having 2 high draft picks out of it, but a defense that really put Cincinnati onto the map for the college football playoff. It is Brian Cook that is really going to be in that role to be the other guy that isn't accounted for, much like they used to do with Dan Sorensen when Dan was making those plays deep down the field when the expectation wasn't there. I think either the blitz package or the drop package, you're going to see, I think, Cook and Chanel playing off of each other when Chanel is on the field, and when he's not, I think Brian Cook's going to get turned loose.
So, you mentioned the pre-draft process, and we might need to go back some to that to understand how he ends up at 62, while you also see such a enormous series of skill sets and different things that he can do for this defense. Give me a little more on what you think is reasonable to expect from him with all that being said, and then also how he ended up falling to past the 60.
Past the 60 is a big one. The skill set is varied. That's the problem, is that at Cincinnati, he didn't have as much an established role. He played down at the line of scrimmage sometimes. He played deeper in coverage at others. It was very matchup dependent. And I think what gets lost in the pre-draft process, at least outside of NFL front offices, is that versatility is coveted in the league, that maybe it isn't as dramatic at the college level because you're looking for something a little bit more substantial and consistent. And you're not looking to be as chess-driven kind of scheming. But that allows for guys like Spags who want to just come up with wild and crazy things to throw off opposing quarterbacks. It allows him to be that X factor. I think he's pretty good against the run. I mean, you don't want him taking on guards, but if you think a tight end's going to come get the better of Brian Cook, I think you're sadly mistaken. And that supports the rest of what you see with LeDre Seed, who's really come on in his run support when teams try to take advantage of him. And that limits the edges for every offense, whether it's on jets, whether it's out of the backfield, whether it's the RPO game. If you can limit the edges with less players, then you have a chance for that defense to take advantage of deeper passes, quarterbacks holding the ball more, and more classic runs that you hope, with the addition of your defensive line, that you're better prepared to stop. And the reason that he fell is a combination of all those factors, not having a singular role, but also because the pre-draft process for him was not exactly clean. Timing didn't go off. It was a pro day. There's a number of factors. The one concern that I heard a little bit before pre-draft was that there was some lower body injury concerns that were popping up, and maybe that scared some teams off. But we've seen no evidence of that, and the Chiefs certainly didn't seem to come up with that in their medical evaluation, so I think we have to feel pretty confident about them.
I think that there are going to be some people that leave this segment today and go start looking into a Brian Cook jersey, or at the very least, a ticket on the hype train, because I am more excited about Brian Cook now than I was 5 minutes ago. So I appreciate that gift. You mentioned Karlaftis maybe rotating back inside some, and you know, how soon will we see that and all. And I want to come back to Carlos Dunlap in a minute. I've got his name written down at the bottom of my sheet of paper off to the side. I want to talk about Dunlap. But within the expectations for Karlaftis now, I mean, we talked about him before the draft. We talked about how you felt when they drafted him there. We've now seen what he was going to look like in the depth chart, to where now we actually stand, where we see that they've added Dunlap, and Frank Clark has some hype around him to this point. Again, we haven't played new football games, but he looks good out there. We see all that. Where are you at right now on George Karlaftis? Is there anything that you have seen or heard so far that has you adjusting any rookie season expectations?
No, not to this point. I think he's looked exactly like the expectation was. Great with power, gets with his pads down when he needs to. and plays his game so far. I love how much that he's trying to learn hand technique, etc., that we've seen demonstrated. But what's really stood out is the team's been able, despite what was, nearly a panic button situation with the edge position, they've managed to incorporate, with the resurgence and the dropped weight of Frank Clark, and now with Carlos Dunlap, guys that have a little bit more edge mentality in terms of getting around the protection, not necessarily through it like Karlaftis. So you've managed to, I wouldn't call them benders. Nobody's like Von Miller on this roster. But in terms of relativity, they're not straight ahead as much as Karlaftis is. So you've supplemented with a little bit of a change in style, the ability to move guys around and get different types of matchups on different guys inside. I'm not huge on Dunlap inside, but I think Frank can go inside. I think Montana can go inside. Protection schemes on their toes because they don't know exchange for.
We lost you a little bit there at the very end, and I was going to assume that you told us what the Chiefs are going to do to shut out Kyler Murray week 1. I imagine you wove that in there just as we lost you for a second. But I think we're good now. Beards, you feeling okay? You want to do a little hold and unhold situation, or you feeling good? Beards going to call you right back, Ryan. We'll dip here real quick, and Beards will give Ryan a call. It wasn't terrible. We didn't lose a minute of radio silence. We can reconnect there, and whenever we were talking about Karlaftis at the time, I mean, Ryan, if memory serves, was a Jermaine Johnson fan and thought that spot would have made a lot of sense. But again, seeing specifically how this group all comes together, if that Frank Clark resurgence, and I'm saying if again, if this Frank Clark resurgence is a real thing, that adds a significant amount of juice. And Ryan, you mentioning Carlos Dunlap and the differences that it brings to the group, what it allows them to do. What was your thought whenever you saw that the Dunlap visit was coming through, his signing, and now what he brings to the Chiefs?
I was relieved that they got traction on what I had hoped had been an earlier inquiry. We did find out that they reached out to him in May. That a versatility that is there that isn't straight, the bulkier power type guys. Much like when they got Ingram last season, where it added a little bit of spice to what is already pretty good stew. You want to be able to turn that over and let him rush with some bend at times, rush with power others. His length certainly fits into Steve Spagnuolo's paradigm that he's always looking for. And just that versatility, you got to have the hunger. I think that's the difference we're going to see with both the veteran edges this year. They have something to prove, whether it's to end a career or to get a contract elsewhere in 2023. Motivation goes a long way, and I think that's going to help Karlaftis' development as well.
The word relieved is a very funny one that I also very much felt. Is there anywhere else right now across this entire roster where you look and say, like, ooh, this could be a problem? Because I felt like the edge group could have been a problem, and now I'm a little more comfortable, if not totally thrilled.
I'm still a little concerned about the offensive tackle position. Not necessarily with the starters. I think they're confident in Andrew Wiley, and obviously with Orlando back. But they're one injury away from playing at a pretty sizable deficit again on any given opponent, and that's where my concern comes in. So let's hope that they're Iron Men out there at the edges.
Yeah, no kidding. What about all the pass catchers? We have started to see maybe a little bit of what this group might look like from the additions of Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, obviously drafted. McCole Hardman's still here. We heard from Josh Gordon earlier. I'm curious to see where he ends up. Justin Watson, and the names go way down the depth chart. It seems like basically 4 of those spots are all but locked in at this point. How are you feeling right now about the wide receivers in particular and what we've learned to this point?
I'm very excited about what they can do in changing this paradigm of what you've seen as kind of a one-man, two-man high kind of situation with Tyreek over the top and Travis underneath. Now I think you're going to be able to spread teams more horizontally, keep them honest, keep them in more tighter zones that will allow you to find those gaps. I think MVS has shown to be very good at that. Really impressed with the way Juju came into camp, not only in shape, but understanding the concept that he's trying to execute with Patrick. They certainly have a chemistry. Now it's just about, you add that on top of McCole, who looks like he's well-motivated. You add that on top of, hopefully Jody Fortson gets back, and now you maybe have 2 pass threats at the tight end position. There's a lot of weapons here, and it goes back to when Patrick was first becoming the starter, where you had to hit 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 receivers in the game to move the ball in that kind of you don't know where we're going to go, so you can't cover us kind of mentality. I see a lot of that coming this season.
When you talk about stretching the field horizontally, it's funny because when you talk about stretching the field, period, you assume vertical. You assume moving down the field stretching. What is it about stretching the field more horizontally that now this team's better equipped to do and that is important offensively?
Well, what teams decided to do to frustrate Patrick and take away Tyreek was to play two high safeties. That limits the number that they can put in the box. And quite frankly, it puts more pressure on the guys who are playing the edges on the boundary corners that have guys more one-on-one, unless you're playing those deep cover fours, which is a whole different advantage that I think Patrick's now has a better arsenal to take advantage of in the underneath things with Travis and Sky and McCole, who can get loose on pretty much any horizontal route at the 5, 8, 12-yard depth that just moves the chains. I expect this to be an offense that moves the chains more than taking the chunk and then backtracking from there if it's not available. It's going to be get a fresh set of downs, bring those safeties down, and then get a chance to go over the top. And I think those chances will be there. I think it's just going to be a little more methodical this season.
If I made you pick one of the wide receivers that you think will exceed expectations and one that would fall short of them, and that can mean anything, but in terms of the role you see, do you have an answer on either side of that, where you think there's somebody who's maybe being overhyped and somebody who maybe is being undervalued at this point?
I think it's all relative because any given day you can see it go up, but I have a feeling that I'm not sure about the touchdown production, but I feel like MVS is going to have the kind of season where we go, wow, he really is a borderline number one receiver. That he and Juju are neck and neck in some of the statistical categories that maybe we don't expect right now. And I do feel that Sky's going to come on in a way that's going to be more important in the second half of the season than the first. And I think it will be more creative. I'm really intrigued by this Wildcat Hardman thing.
Yeah.
If that grows legs, then the jet action, and I can see an RPO option kind of thing with Sky and McCole that's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of wrinkles that I think will come on as the offense builds, and he gets more than just a 8 to 10 play kind of package that is specifically for Sky to begin the season.
I'm with you 100% on Sky. The MVS prediction there is very interesting to me, though. Is that because of who you saw him be in Green Bay? Is that because of Patrick Mahomes? I imagine probably some sort of combination. What goes into you thinking that this is a year that he looks like a borderline number one guy?
I think it's a combination of both because I think he's realized that he got very lucky to have the opportunity to go from one Hall of Fame quarterback to another. And that's going to be something he has to take advantage of. This is the contract for him to try to make his mark. Patrick seems to have a very good connection with him and Juju, but I think when it comes down to it, I think MVS is going to be a guy that's going to settle into more of the zones that people aren't going to see coming. I think they're going to focus defenses on Juju, and I think that's going to leave some opportunity. I don't know if the catch volume will be there, but I feel like the yardage volume may, and it may be big chunk plays. Playing with Patrick allows you to take advantage of those. He might be the guy that gets that attention over the top.
I love it. I hope that all comes together. I am very excited about this offense, but I think that's partially I am more excited about this offense without Tyreek Hill because I haven't seen this offense without Tyreek Hill, and so that that energy continues to really have me ready for September.
Yeah, it should. I am pretty excited about it as well. And we haven't even discussed the running back position.
Yes.
With 4 guys making this roster, you could double the explosive plays out of the backfield this season, and I would not be surprised with it. The question will be whether it comes from handoffs, pitches, or actual pass targets, but in the end, does it matter in an Andy Reid offense? I don't think it does.
I don't know that it does, and I'm glad that you went there because that was the next, maybe last thing I wanted to make sure we had some time to really dig into. We can save the roster shuffling. Stick with that for me of what you think they're going to do with the running back position this year, how things could look different out of the backfield in 2022.
I think they want to go with, a bell cow type. With Clyde being healthier than he's been in any preseason before, I think that's the temptation. Whether that actually plays out during the season or not, I can't tell you at this point. Mm-hmm. So I think having a healthy rotation will become important in some matchup at some point. Maybe it's week 6, maybe it's week 13. I don't know. But at some point, you're going to have to get those X factors involved on the running back side. And obviously, everybody's in love with Pacheco at this point. I think he's going to be a good kick returner. And I think he will get spot duty to make an impression. If he can do that in the regular season, obviously he'll earn himself more touches. But I think people are counting on Joe McKinnon right now in what he was able to do in the postseason run, and that, you know, the older guy can just kind of sit back and let the young bucks do the work for now, but he'll be there in the end. So I think that the explosive potential of a four-man running back committee is there more so than we've probably seen in the last 3 or 4 years. Nothing against Darrell Williams, who I think is a stalwart, and I really like his gameplay. But he didn't have that high explosive upside, that scoot that can really make the difference in the game. And this group seems to have that. You can argue about Rojo. A lot of people have differing opinions of his look here in camp, but in the end, you got to have a little bit of everything. And this feels like a group that not only can help each other out in their abilities and skill sets, but it feels like they are kind of a foursome rather than a threesome. And that's going to be the toughest part for cutting down the rosters. Can you squeeze that many offensive players when you know you have youth at the defensive back and you need that number of slots on the defense? I kind of predicted it a couple weeks ago as a 25-25-3 specialist. It may be shifting towards the offense yet again, which wouldn't surprise any of us with Andy Reid.
Well, and also, again, just like to the specifics of this group, it has been weird that Jones seems like he has not gotten the workload in camp that I would have expected, or some of the conversations around him that I was expecting coming into this. But like you said, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire got every single carry through week 6, I would still want to have 3 more guys behind him that you were excited to have on the roster because of injuries, but more importantly, because of how those guys actually do get used. So if you think that, you know, there's differing opinions on Jones, Clyde's going to be the first guy out. Pacheco, like you said, Dave Tobe said he's the first guy up on kick returns right now. That means a roster spot. Like, that's a hell of an endorsement to get still pretty early on in camp. And then you think maybe people are overlooking McKinnon. Is there a chance that they do just cut down to 3? And you assume Michael Burton's on this roster. So I am interested to see what that roster crunch is going to look like, even though everything you just said about this group, I want to have all those guys on this team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one. And I will say this, Mike Burton scores 4 touchdowns this year. That's my prediction. So he's going nowhere.
Wow. Okay.
But if you can squeeze anybody onto a practice squad, is it the older guy that you can then call up? If push comes to shove and you need Pacheco for a return, I think they might try to do that with McKinnon, because I don't know how many other teams are going to come calling, or how many other teams he would entertain offers from, knowing that he's a step away from a Super Bowl run.
I mentioned that possibility for Josh Gordon earlier too. I just think that he's either going to be a Chief or he's probably not playing football anymore, and it seems like the early reports out of camp this year that he's not having a fabulous one. So I didn't really consider that with McKinnon. I mean, they signed him like an hour and a half ago. He was one of the last signings this team made before camp. So maybe they sneak him down there.
Maybe it's going to be that numbers crunch. I do not want to be in that room this year. It's going to be tough. This is probably the worst conundrum they have in the last 4 or 5 seasons to get to the 53.
Yeah, four running backs, a fullback, 4 tight ends. Who knows what you're going to do with your wide receivers? That'll be my last thing before I let you go, Ryan. Is there anything right now that you look around and you say, hey, this group is giving me questions, or this is a place where this roster crunch might be interesting, or this is something I want to see and that you want people to be looking out for on Saturday? Anything that I wasn't smart enough to ask you about over the last half hour?
No, Josh, you're smart enough to cover it all. You don't need me. I'm just echoing. The only thing that I get into is what happens in case if the number 1 guy goes down. If Travis twists an ankle and has to miss 2 games, what happens? Is Jody ready? If he's not, can Noah Gray fill in that role? Do they have to keep Lake Bell and use him as a pass catcher? As we know, that's not his forte. Or what happens there? Same thing if something happens to McColl and he misses a couple of games. You got to think this guy's ready to step into the slot role and be able to manage that more than trying to make up for an injury, say, to MVS for a couple of weeks. Very different thing to go outside and face man coverage every time for Sky Moore. But what happens if you have 2? Are we talking about Justin Watson, Darius Fountain being the 5 and the 6 on this roster of the wide receiver position? What can they do on the offensive side if they have to get put into the game? There are going to be some hiccups if there's injuries at those specialty pass-catching positions.
Ryan, it's always a treat. Appreciate you making some time for us with the sun up. We'll send people your way. Locked On Chiefs, available wherever you get your podcast. RGR Football on YouTube is, I think I'm just going to say it this way, and if anybody gets mad at me, fine. I think it's the best Chiefs content you're going to find on YouTube, or right up there with the best of the best. Plus, again, you can follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Tracy NFL. That'll get you the links to everything else from RGR to Locked On to Rogue Analytics to the Draft Guide to everything else Ryan does. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Tracy NFL. If I missed anything there, Ryan, I just feel like that's a sign you're going to have to quit a job or two.
Yeah, that probably is. There is something new, but I'll tell you about it next time. Thanks for having me on.
Hold on. Plug it. Is it? Did I skip the Substack? Is it the Substack?
It is. It's NFL33.com is my new Substack, and it is for things outside of Chiefs Kingdom, but very much from a league level.
See, I remember that it existed, but it wasn't in your Twitter bio. Which again, you ran out of characters in your Twitter bio. That means that's to you now to reorganize some things. So yeah, check that out again. NFL33.com. I didn't know got straight there. I didn't know about NFL33.substack.com. So go check that out as well. All right, thank you, Ryan. If you start a new project in the next week or two, we'll just update me on the notes beforehand.
Will do. I'm maxed. Enjoy the daylight.
I will. Thanks, Ryan. It's Ryan Tracy. I already told you where he does all of his stuff and how to follow him. Just absolutely one of the absolute best in the business covering the Chiefs and beyond as well. His draft guide that we talk about with him every year is just absolutely unforgettably useful in terms of the athletic matrix that he's built and his entire background. If you're not following Ryan's work, amend that now. Do it today. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, we'll either do Learn Funny is Best with just me and Beards, or I'll play some audio, or I'll forget and we'll do something else completely different. That's what happens whenever Jason Anderson's not here in the zone. I'm Joshua Brisco with Beards McFly. Something else next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You're in the zone.
I hate Nick Bolton, and I hate him because he's a Missouri Tiger.
With Jason Anderson. I hate Nick Bolton. On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Come on! Come on! That's not fair! That's not true! I don't hate Nick Bolton, and if I did, it wouldn't be because he was a Missouri Tiger.
Listen, it's okay. There's one of Jason also saying the same thing, so.
He's a Mizzou guy. It's even worse.
I know. We know it's in jest.
You know.
I know it was in jest.
That is the issue. Is it somebody listening in their car today has been thinking, oh, you know what, this Brisco fella's not too bad. I've enjoyed today's edition of The Zone, even without Jason Anderson. It should be back tomorrow. And then they heard that, and they turned it off, and they didn't even get to hear because they think I hate Nick Bolton. I don't. I like Nick Bolton. I did not love the draft pick, and I was wrong, largely, almost certainly. I'm not trying to hold my ground on that one. They drafted linebackers in the second round 2 years in a row, and I didn't think they were going to do that, and I was wrong. It is what it is. Whoa, hold on. Sorry, I just got I got a push notification. Beard, do you have breaking news? There's like legit breaking news here that's important to me. From Shams Sharania.
Oh, I did see that.
Sources. This is brand new. This is hot and fresh on the timeline. Sources. Kevin Durant informed Joe Tsai that he does not have faith in the Nets' direction. The meeting was described as transparent and professional with a clear message: keep me or the GM and coach. You can get the breaking news thing again if you want, Beards.
That he picked.
Sorry, man, I can't hear you from the Valley of the Sun. He's not happy with that direction. Maybe go a little southwest, KD. Just right across the country. There's a beautiful state with the big Grand Canyon in it.
Utah.
It also has Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, who can't get traded right now. So, a lot of picks.
I don't think they're going to do that deal for campaign.
And draft picks.
Sure.
I look, I mean, and picks. I'm not delusional. Anyway. Do you want to do Learn Funniest Best?
Sure.
We don't have Jason or Mick, so I don't think I have to tell you whose turn it is each time, but let's do Learn Funniest Best.
Cool.
Are you getting music?
I can.
You were looking over at the computer as if to do music, which I think we should do.
I was thinking about it.
Well, let's test it. Let's see how it sounds. This is a preseason game for us. Jason's not here. Mahomes is out. Shane Buechele went to throw a pass between his legs and see if it works. So let's do Learn Funniest Best. This one royalty free?
Yes, it's the one that Rudy made.
Okay, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
It's Rudy's unique original creation.
Beards!
Yeah.
What'd you learn this week?
I learned that my I learned that my theory that the Chiefs are only good when Travis Kelce has a beard theory is going to be tested this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
I did.
Kelce shaved to where he's just got a mustache.
Yeah.
It's a good-looking mustache. But I will remind everybody, when he was fully shaved last year,
yeah,
that was at the beginning of the year with the Washington game and all of those, and it wasn't a good time. So I don't know. We're gonna see what happens this year, but we'll see.
I think this has become a training camp mustache tradition for him. So the question's gonna be: does he go clean shaven or grow it back in?
You better grow that thing back fast.
Woo! All right. Well, the Travis Kelce beard watch is on. Here's what I learned this weekend. I learned that I'm not infallible. The streak was 216. Didn't mean to sell myself short by 3 months and change. But yesterday, my Wordle streak came to an unceremonious conclusion. 216 was the streak, and I lost on a coin flip because I got too many letters right too soon and then just did a bunch of ones that weren't the right answer. I lost my streak. I also made this announcement on Sunday Sound Off last night. I'll make it again now with the appropriate, serious music underneath. If you thought that this was going to lead to my retirement from Wordle, you were sorely mistaken. Even the GOATs lose sometimes. Maybe I'm about to go to Tampa Bay. Maybe this is the next act of my greatest of all time Wordle career. But I learned this weekend that I'm not infallible. And you learned today then I'm not going anywhere. What was the funniest thing from the weekend, Beards?
The funniest thing for me was this headline that I saw on Reddit. Batgirl holds the world record for longest director's cut as it will feature over 90 minutes of deleted scenes. If you didn't hear, they shelved the Batgirl movie.
That kind of made me sad. Like, it seems like it's mostly done, right? Like, just
I think it was done. They were just like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore.
put it on Live Leak or something, you know? Let somebody leak it. Let somebody put it on World Star. I want to watch it, even if it stinks. Or really, I just want it to exist where people can watch it. I probably wouldn't. Here's the funniest thing from my weekend. Did you see what Seth Kaiser did?
No.
Seth posted a picture. Welp did a thing. Any blue heeler experts out here? And it's a photo of his daughter and their new puppy, which is both of them adorable.
Oh, boy.
But, he also tweeted more pictures. That's great news. Here's the other thing. I looked into the responses, and here's what I see. I'm not even exaggerating. Give them tons of exercise or they get insane. Very active breed. I hope you have a big yard because they never run out of juice. Great dogs for ranchers and people who understand how to professionally train a dog, who can dedicate hours a day to exercising them too.
Uh-oh.
Smart, loyal dogs. Give them a job or they will make one. They can bite strangers. Hope you're a fan of exercise. Kong toys. Keep them busy. Idle time is the devil's playpen. There was one somewhere that was essentially get them exhausted all the time or they will destroy everything you love. And so what I just was picturing as I was going through those...
Is Seth a blue heeler?
What I was seeing as I was going through those was I wish I could see Seth's face as he is reading all of these messages asking what he has done. That's my funniest thing from the weekend. Just go scroll through the replies. They're tremendous. Beards, best thing from the weekend?
My best from the weekend is this tweet I saw from StatMuse. It's one of those player name combined things. I'm actually putting this up on the stream here so that you can take a look at it.
That's exciting. You can watch the show on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter.
And it just asks, who would be the best combined player of all time? So you've got your obvious ones. Your LeBron James Harden. Your Mike.
Hey, that's my game.
Yeah,
that's my sports or leisure game
for you. I figured you like this one. Michael Jordan Clarkson.
Okay.
Give
me just the first name on the next one. Let me see if I can finish the name.
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul George.
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul Gasol. I almost said Paul Gasol. Go ahead. You can say
Chris
the other
Paul
one.
Pierce. But
okay, sorry.
Specifically, there's one on here that they have listed that has no business being here, but it made me laugh.
Hold on.
Oh, no, you're not going to get this
Hold on.
Do you want me to give you the first name?
No, I was going to see if I can come up with the dumbest possible one, but
go ahead.
It's
up there.
Go ahead.
Kevin Durant-Anthony Davis.
Let me open my sports or leisure document. Hey guys, if you're listening on Thursday.
There's another one that's great that somebody commented that I've seen before. It's just Lamar Gasoldridge.
Stupid.
It's the best. But anyway, it's just
I love it.
It was specifically the Kevin Durant-Anthony Davis one, which is so dumb. When especially they had you had Carmelo Anthony Davis sitting right there.
Kevin Durant-Anthony Davis is the entire reason that I do the pun name game. And I've written it down. If we get to the end of that on Thursday, there's a freebie for anyone who's listening on Monday who's also playing sports or leisure on Thursday. My best of the weekend, Renee ordered a puzzle. Dogs Playing Poker puzzle. It's not the original Dogs Playing Poker painting. I'm guessing it's, trademarked or whatever. This one of the dogs has bet their key fob for a Tesla. It's a whole deal. We made it like halfway into the puzzle just yesterday, just like crushing through it. It's the oldest I've felt in a very long time. But I was watching baseball while doing a puzzle. And then immediately after, my teeth were falling out. I was getting dentures. My wrinkles really popped through.
Did you get your tin of Altoids there?
Yes, I was aging like I had just killed Santa in the Santa Claus movies. I put on the jacket, and all of a sudden, all my hair turned white. I grew up my beard, like an Evan Almighty situation. I can't think of a third movie where that happens. It was like the end of the first Indiana Jones.
Santa Claus 2?
I picked the wrong cup. Santa Claus 3. Hold on. I've seen at least a couple of those. I'm trying to remember. Hold on, let me just write down Santa Claus 3's Company, and I'm just going to add that to my sports or leisure document. I don't know what the prompt's going to be, but that's the result.
I don't think I saw Santa Claus 3: The Escape Clause.
Let's learn funny is best. Goes faster when only half of us are here. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, maybe we'll get to some more Chiefs audio. Maybe I'll continue to follow through on that promise in a very on-brand way, and instead we'll just probably talk more about punny names.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Nick Bolton, no, hated it. I mean, just an awful player. I mean, just nothing about Nick Bolton gets me excited at all. No instincts. Really doesn't hit hard at all. That's the issue I have with him.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rock chalk.
The best I could do during the break was Donovan Mitchell-Robinson.
That one's been there, yeah.
This one, I wouldn't make this one a pun name game answer, but could I interest you in Domantas Sabonis. I was just trying to go syllables. Sabonis. That's the most I can do, I think, just purely syllable-wise. By the signs of your quiet clicking, I'm guessing you don't have me beat.
No, I don't.
Also, that one wasn't very good, if that makes you feel any better.
I was trying to find one. You triggered the memory of the one I was trying to find, but I don't know where it is. There was one that I thought that was really stupid and great.
That seems about right. I love this game. I have written down a couple that are not purely NBA, but I've come up with some very silly ones for sports or leisure on Thursday, so we can file that one away. Hey, also, Beards, you know what else is Thursday?
No.
The 100-year celebration at the Midland.
Oh, my goodness.
How many more
really?
tickets should we give away?
We can do another one here.
One more pair? Two more pairs?
I'll do one more pair.
One more pair?
Yeah.
Call 913-381-810 and just be caller number 10. We haven't done a boring one yet today, and we just have the one set, and we need to do it quickly before the show ends. So that one is just sort of a gift from me to Beards. Is that you don't? I was going to say to call in with your own pun name game to make Beards laugh. And nope, Beard just needs to get this one in and out. So caller number 10, phone board is already full. So that's halfway there. And caller number 10 gets tickets to the 100-year celebration event at the Midland on Thursday night. We will continue to have more chances to win both during the program coming up here next on Sports Radio 810, WHB, and maybe some other ways going forward. So if you're trying to get to the event, and why wouldn't you be, there will be more chances to win today and tomorrow and Wednesday. With the show itself on Thursday. I don't know, will we have day of giveaway? Who's to say? I don't know. It's going to be huge, though, and as we found out more details about what's all going down, very excited for some of the surprises and the twists and turns of the event. And, Beards, do we have our winner on this one? Okay, everybody, stop calling in, and we will get you another chance here coming up soon, either in the program or tomorrow in the zone. We'll have lots of chances to win your tickets to the 100-year celebration of WHB. That's Thursday night at the Midland. Beards is doing too many things. I've done this out of order. I've really made this miserable for Beards because I thought maybe we could sneak in this little piece of audio here today. Can we just get to the Eric Bieniemy clip here, Beards, before we run out of show? Because this really ties back into all the running back conversations we've been having today. And I want you to hear from Eric Bieniemy. He spoke to the media this weekend, and we brought you all the pressers live from today. But this here on from Eric Bieniemy on Ronald Jones, I think gives you a little more information in where this running back group is at, as we've talked about with Ryan and going back to the very top of today's show. Here's Eric Bieniemy on Ronald Jones.
You know what? Rojo's doing a heck of a job. He's obviously a big man. He's done some good things running the football. He just needs to continue becoming the football player we expect him to be, because we expect our guys to do a lot from that running back position. And the thing that he's done, he's accepted the challenge, and he's doing things that he hasn't really done in the past. So the thing that I love about him, every single day he comes out here and works his tail off.
I've heard a lot of press conferences. I've been in the room for a lot of Eric Bieniemy press conferences, and so I'm gonna try to squint here and tell you what else is being said in between the gaps and the pauses. I think that there are two things there that you could probably guess about Ronald Jones now. One, as Bieniemy says, he's being asked to do things he wasn't asked to do in Tampa Bay. He did not catch very many passes. He was not very good in pass protection. That's something we talked about with Seth Kaiser the day after they signed him, is that those reps were concerning. I would also say that Bieniemy says they are still waiting for him to be that guy. He's taken on the challenge, but they're still waiting on him to be that guy. I'm guessing he has not fully become that guy in a couple weeks of training camp. So can he get there, or could he be the odd man out? Could he end up being a trade target, much like Carlos Hyde was when he had a similar setup with the Chiefs in camp? So I think that bears watching. But the thing that I will continue to hammer here at the running back spot, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the number one running back on this team. I think he'll continue to be that guy for as long as he's healthy and as long as the Chiefs see a reason to give him that work. But this is a little bit of a pet issue. They shouldn't have taken Clyde in that spot in the first round. We knew that at the time, just because of the value of running backs, the volatility of the position. Now that Clyde's here, hey, root for Clyde. I hope he plays well. I hope he's a good part of this team, all of that. Nothing personal. Just shouldn't have been the pick because of the position. We're seeing now with the electricity, both in the Twitter hype and also in what people are saying behind closed doors amongst the Chiefs front office and coaching staff. Everybody seems very on board with Pacheco in this role that he's going to carve out for himself as a rookie. Talent comes everywhere with the running back groups. You've got veterans like Jerick McKinnon, a younger veteran but still a vet in Ronald Jones. Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde's not on the team anymore. Clyde Edwards-Helaire being... Look, we got through the whole show. I almost didn't mess up any names. Jason wasn't here. I had to get one wrong. Edwards-Helaire is going to have to justify that spot or at least keep being the number one guy. But there's a lot of dynamicism in that backfield. I think it's pretty exciting. Jason will be back tomorrow. Joshua Brisco, Beards McFly, the program next.
WHB.